live right about now, so if you're just joining us, great to have you. If you are joining us in the future, welcome as well. And yes, so thank you. I'm waiting for it to pop up over there. I'm going to do a quick audio check like usual. I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be working on today. We got two primary things I'd like to look at. So just checking audio is coming in. And it is. It might be a little lower. We're going to get the audio picked up when we get into VR. We get that nice crisp Quest 2 audio input. And so, there's a poll, of course, so feel free to go vote in the poll. It's with regards to Apple Clicker, that mini game we built about a month ago, where you click the apple. And so the question is, have you seen it? Have you seen part 2? And which of those have you seen? So feel free to vote for that. In the comments, love to know if you watched it live, if you watched it in a rerun when it was posted to the channel. And today, it's going to be very exclusive content in that I don't intend to edit any of the videos that we're recording today. So, not recording on this camera, only recording on desktop for posterity? I don't know. We'll have it. So you're looking at something that probably looks strange. I forgot to click the button. Oh gosh, that wasn't what I wanted to click either. How do you do this? Got it. Okay, I figured it out. We're good. So check it out. This is a really cool way for us to look at some scripts, answer your questions live. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them as usual. You can just leave them in the comments there. And if you're curious what this is that you're looking at, that is the tool being developed by Wafflecopters. He occasionally posts in House of Waffles looking for testers. And that's more or less the extent of what I'll be sharing about it today. But thank you, Waffle, for giving me access, because it is game-changing and it allows us to talk about scripts and show them in a way that's a lot easier for you to learn and follow and kind of like see the visual. So Take 2 says, watched one of them live and caught up with the rest later. Nice! That's awesome. Thanks, Tape. And yeah, so what I want to do today is twofold. So one, I want to talk about object-oriented programming, and I am in no position to talk about object-oriented programming, mostly, but I would like to talk about how we can apply the concepts in Horizon Worlds and potentially start sketching down some thoughts on ways we can like make a Horizon branded version of this. And there's definitely a lot to talk about there, so I'm going to pause there for a moment. And the second thing I'd like to do, if we have some extra time, that's why I'm starting so early. We're starting 2 hours, 15 minutes early today, so that I have a full 4 hours to talk to you guys. But the second part there is that I'd like to potentially jump back in on Apple Clicker. So that's why I'm asking about Apple Clicker, is I would really like to know what you guys have seen about it. I think there's some concepts we might want to apply from what we discussed early on. And the last bit there is I'd love to make it into an actual world. I watched it for the first time in a month yesterday before it was posted, and I was like, that was fun. Like, it was a very fun game, and I'd love to get it out for you guys to play. And I don't really build a lot of things very often, so this might be a fun one to jump back into. And Tape says, oh, I actually have a scripting question today. Please ask. Feel free to go for it. Love to hear your question. If you've just joined us, I will reiterate some of the stuff we've just talked about, so don't feel like you need to roll back, but you always can. This is recorded, so this content will be live on the channel later, so you can always roll back and watch it. But yeah, Tape, shoot, what is your question? It asks about object visibility for a player in a list without them having to hold another object to see the invisible object. Okay, so you want a player, so object visibility for a player in the list without having to hold another object to see the invisible object. All I know is what I learned in PHP a long time ago. Okay, well, we got lots to talk about. I did spend several hours today researching it before coming into this, so I feel like I have a little bit of, not expertise, but definitely something I can talk to. The question you're asking is hard to fully follow, so I apologize. I'm very much a visual, and text, large blocks of text can be kind of hard to decode, so it probably sounds crazy coming from me. But my question is about object visibility. So I'm imagining a list of players, and then you're having them hold an object to see the invisible object. Okay, so I think I'm following what you're saying. So basically there is like a torch, and if you hold it, an object becomes visible, or something. So let's try using this tool and see if we can get this to work. So you have a list of players, and so these are going to be called plids. Okay. And if you're curious what this tool is, this is a tool developed by Wafflecopters. He occasionally looks for testers. You can get that in the Horizon House of Waffles group on Facebook. Okay, so we've created the player ID list, and the next thing we need to know is about an object, and so we're going to think about, so this will be called make visible. So we're going to have one that we're making visible, and then we're going to have another object, which is the held object, which will be self. So we're going to call this held object. The list of players, I think, is only necessary for this to work correctly because of this. So I know it's hard to hear me when I turn to face the computer, so I do apologize. So hopefully that's not too bad. Let me know if it is. And I do have to look this way to see chat, so I'll fix that right now. Give me 2 seconds. So we go open a tab, studio, and let's go pull up the YouTube chat so I can see you guys while I'm working on this. Okay, wrong channel, switch account. There we go. And we're going to live streams, live control panel, and then pop out chat. Oh, we got some votes coming in. Keep the votes coming. If you don't know what the poll is, we're basically seeing if you've watched Apple Clicker. So if you have watched it, go give it a vote. If you haven't watched it, give that a vote too. And whoa, that's so weird. I can see myself a minute ago. So tripping out. So then we're going to go pop out chat. There it is. Okay, so I popped the chat out, popped it over here, plasted that over there, close out of this, and now we can see chat here. So I can see what you guys are saying live, which is nice. Really enjoy that. So I'll go live chat. And Tapes is correct. I'd like to see it without them having to hold an object. Oh, got it. So you don't want them to have to hold an object. Basically, if a player enters the world and they're on the list, they can see the object. So it's like a VIP list. Got it. Okay, totally. And I'll get to your question in just a second, Jay. And let me quickly finish up this one. I see I need to scroll because I sized this for my screen. There we go. Okay. So back here again, so we're calling this held object, but instead this is going to be called control. Or actually we'll call this is going to run on the object that's made visible. So visible object, okay? So we're running on the object that you want to make visible. And the list of player IDs is going to be extremely important. Make visible is no longer necessary, so we don't need that object. And then if we go to our events here, when the world is started, the first thing we need to do is add server player to this list. And I'll explain this in a little more depth in just a moment. So we're going to Operators tab, scrolling down to List, where we're going to find Add Player to List, and then we're going to go to Values, where you can find Server Player. And so we're adding the server player value to the player ID list. And then what we can do is, there we go, make the visible object. So then we can set who is allowed to view object to be, and the object is self. So we'll go back to the Values tab to grab self. And then the list is that player ID list. I don't know if there's a duplicate function in here, so I'll go back to variables to grab it. So we've got, what we've done here is said when the world is started, so this is the moment the world gets initiated or instantiated, we've added a server player to the list, which is not a real player. Now that there's an item in this list, we will then set who is allowed to view self, the object the script is running on, to be that list, which is just the server player. So now nobody can see it because there's no such thing as a server player. So now this has made the object invisible. So then the next thing we need to do is when players enter the world, so we'll go down to player events. When player enters the world, we can add players to this list. So we could use the same add to function. I need to learn the controls for this because there's probably a bunch of how-tos and I need to go learn them. But we're going to go click add to list and we're going to add the player to the plids list. Now, if you're wondering why it's called plids, it stands for player IDs because that's what we're storing. It's just a shorthand. And then now that we've added this player to the list, we also need to update. So we have to set who is allowed to view to be this same player ID. So we literally would just normally duplicate. So I wish I knew what to do. I bet it's like, there's some code. But anyway, so you would basically do this copy, you know, thumbstick to the right to copy it. I'm going to just do it again. Set who is allowed. I feel like I'm a brand noob. I'm a noob again. Give me a second. So set plids and self. There we go. So now when the world is entered by a player, we have added that player to the list. But we don't want to add every player to this list, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be asking that question, right? And so now what we want to do is use an if statement. So we go to control block if, and we want to define when do we add this player to the list. Maybe it's people who have a length of their name that's less than 5. Maybe it's people who have a length of their name that's larger than 5. There's lots of things we could be checking about this player when they enter. We could also check player persistent variables. So if you had a player variable saved and you know that you set that variable to be 1, you could check if it equals 1, make it visible. If it equals 2, it's not visible. Maybe there's some other object that's checking for 2. So you could imagine, theoretically, like, oh my gosh, my mind's exploding. But you could imagine, so I'm working on a world idea, sort of under NDA, so I can't say too much, but imagine there's something that is different per player. So let's say I'm designing a house, because this is completely off topic of the other thing I'm thinking of. So, and in this house, everybody can buy different furniture. And so I buy this couch, and you buy this other colored couch. Or maybe we can just change the color of the couch. Well, the value could be stored, and then you could set the visibility of that couch based on which couch that user had bought. So when they return, the house looks identical. My mind is blossoming. I love this. So anyway, we got this if statement, lots of things we can check. All the ways to check ifs are found here at the top of the logic operators, so we can use equals. And the one that you might be doing for a VIP that's just plain and simple is this one. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. So one is you do string input and you type in the username. So mine is Lakes05, so I'd say LAEX05. Notice that capitalization of L is important, otherwise it won't work. We can then get the name of the player from the operators tab by scrolling down to, where is name of player? There it is. So we'll grab name of player. And now we can check the name of this player when they enter and then indent these by making sure the white bar is visible. And now this will only update if it's Lakes05 who enters. Now you could just duplicate a bunch of if statements, but that is not the best method. So I'm going to show you a much better method. And so the much better method is to delete Lakes05. I don't know how to delete. Oh, that deletes. Cool. Sorry, remember, this isn't Horizon, and if you've just joined us, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I know this is some coding, so that probably doesn't look nearly as interesting as usual, but this is a tool developed by Wafflecopters. I really appreciate him letting me use it because it's so much easier for you to read it rather than me like joggling my head around. And it's just a cool way to like test script, or not test, but build scripts from a theoretical standpoint. So basically, love it. So anyway, the next step we want to do is go over to our variables tab, and what we want to check is not whether or not they're equal to. In fact, I'm going to grab an if statement just to move this down here for a second, so I save the name of player, deleting the equals. What we want to check is if the player is in a list. And so on our variables tab, we're going to add a new string list, and this is a list, so check the list box, and this will be called, we're going to call this VIPs, why not? Okay, so we've got our VIP list, and you can click this arrow to add items to the VIP. So I can add Lakes05, if I spell my name right, and you can add other names, like I saw Crow Black is in the comments there, so I could add Crow Black, I could add Tate2 PC, and all of these people who we want to be on this list, we can add them to this string list from the variables tab without having to use any such sort of scripting, which is nice. And then over here under the operators tab near the bottom under list, you're going to find the list contains item code block, which checks if the list we specify, so we're going to drag over the VIP list, put that on the left side, and then on the right side is where we put the name of the player. And so we just check to see if that player is in the list. And I don't know how to delete this. Did I just make something I can't get rid of? I don't even... Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. So anyway, there you have it. So now this is a way to make it so only VIPs can see it. So Tape, let me know if that answers your question. And it says you were really close. You didn't have server player. Yeah, that might have been it, but yeah, awesome stuff here. So hope that really helps you out. A place I've used this is in the, if you want to see it live in Horizon Worlds. I kind of want to like do some switching here a little bit, so I hope this is cool. Boop. There we go. Hey guys, it's full view. You can see the couch I was pointing at. So anyway, the place you can see this is in, and make sure my audio is coming in. Yes, it is the Vidyuu emoji slot world. And so in there, when you're entering, there is a wall, and that's visible. So everybody can see it when they enter the world. But then you get removed from the list, so it's the inverse, when you press the I accept button. So there's basically, it says, no real money is available in this world, and you hit the I agree, then the wall becomes invisible and you can walk past it. So that is one example that you can check out. Another cool thought that I had about this, so I'll switch back over here, is that you can see the if VIP list. This messes me up every so often, so I just wanted to share this. So if you're having any trouble, you might make sure that this contains is in the right order, because most of the time when you're using list functions, the list goes on the right side, but with this one specific code block, the list goes on the left side. And so sometimes when I'm going really fast, I'll put it the reverse of this, which will be, say, if name of contains VIPs, which doesn't make sense when you read it. But when you're looking at it, it looks fine. And so sometimes I'll be like debugging, and I'm like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And it's just because I've swapped those two pills. So just check that out. I'm going to quickly read through you guys' messages. And thank you guys so much for joining. Feel free to leave your comments, vote in the poll. And great to have y'all here today. Lots of exciting content to go over. Tape, I'm just going to read your messages. I was trying to see you set who's allowed to view object. We've done this. So good. Awesome. Yes, he's going to try it right now and report back. Fantastic. Jay says, I made a wheel that spins using the physics, works in build mode, but in public sessions it no longer spins. Any insight? I have an idea, Jay, and it's unfortunate. So first thing we need to think about is if you're using physics, you're likely using a collidable cylinder. Let me know if I'm wrong, but my idea here is you're probably using a collidable cylinder. Build mode cylinders, or the tunnel, I don't know what you'd call it, the tube. Build mode tubes, cylinders, rounded objects in general behave differently in build mode than they do in publish mode. And it's because they're estimates of where the collision is. And so the collision mesh on the rounded objects is just not very accurate. So when you go into a published world, it's just not the same collision mesh you were experiencing in build mode. What do you do then? So what you do is you make the cylinder that's supposed to be collidable, non-collidable, and you use cubes to make the rest of this cylinder. So basically you take, a bunch of cubes, stretch them out to make an entire cylinder, and then that will spin a lot better than the other one, and it will be more accurate in both modes, so it should work. So try that out. Let me know if it's not working, but that should be the solution you needed. Okay. So without the held object, okay, reading through, Crow Black says, I see you are doing your Apple thing, but I need help with making an NPC. Maybe later. Thanks, Crow. Shoes. I know, it's so cool. Will says, a list of allowed players, then use if list contains. Yep, that's what we did. Is there a way to get access to this? Yes, so this tool was built by Wafflecopters, and occasionally he will ask for new testers, and he does that in the Horizon House of Waffles group on Facebook. I will attempt to find that group link, but if you haven't seen it, it's House of Waffles. It's where he does all his scripting and stuff. It's great, so I encourage you to check that out. Waffle, brilliant genius. So definitely encourage you to tap into that network of awesome information as well. Let's see. Lakes, when will you be in Horizon Worlds? Also, play as me all your asset worlds. I'm not doing asset worlds anymore. They're just too broken. Fortunately, though, we are getting assets into the asset library, so you can find 40 of them right now. There's 20 in the community featured section, and there's 20 in the... And I'm going to switch... Sorry, guys. Switching to this one. There we go. And so there's 20 in the community featured, and there's 20 in the game item section. I'm going to petition them to make a Vidyuu section, but I was told that was not possible in the beginning, but now I've got like over 100 that we're going to be trying to get in there, so hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, unfortunately we're not doing assets the old-fashioned way, where we add people. It literally does not function anymore. I haven't been able to get it to work in months, so it's been stagnant, and the only way I can really get these out effectively is via the official method, although there's no way for regular users to use that, so I encourage you to vote in the user voice poll to get that out to everybody, as that really does help. So, there we go. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, let us know, Jay. Will says, any solution to having more than 15 player variables for tracked achievements? I run into issues scrolling the variable list. Oh, Will, I've never heard of this. That is really interesting. So user voice, again, is a great place to post bugs. You record a video and post it there. I'm probably going to run into this very soon as I'm working on some things that need some more player variables than usual. I come from a time, so I've been in Horizon Worlds for coming on 2 years now. We're in September, 2 years now. So when I joined, there was only 5 player variables, so I still use them very cautiously. But now there's like 100 or 75. It's crazy. So if you're having trouble past 15, that is very peculiar. I'd assume that's something that just not many people have hit that big threshold yet. And so good on you for getting there. But now we need to report it as a bug and get it to the bug team. And the fastest way to do that is reporting via user voice. It goes directly in through some crazy cool channels to get it to the bug team. If you post it on Facebook, somebody else from the Horizon team has to post it into user voice. So just go straight to the user voice page, post it in the bugs. Make sure to post a photo if you can, your world name, your username. The more information you can provide, the date and time that the bug is occurring. Obviously that's not so much because there's no error message popping up, but because anyway. So for those instances, definitely put in the date and time so they can find logs and stuff. But the more information you can provide, the better. So let me go grab that link real quick because it is so valuable. We're going to user voice and Command A, oops, wrong one, Control A, Control C, Control V. There you go. So there's the user voice page, which allows you to request features as well as put in bugs. And so there we go. We got that out there. Let's see what else we got. Could you ask them to include NPCs? They're on the to-do list. Yes, they are. So hopefully sooner than later. I wouldn't say the NPCs are that great, though. I mean, they're basically the bees, right? And then there's the dog. I might rethink them when we get to adding them to the library, but that's where they're at right now. Okay, so welcome, welcome. If you've just joined us, we're looking at some scripts. We're looking at some scripting topics, and we're taking your questions and answering them. So lots of cool stuff happening. Our poll, where are we at on the poll? The poll says most people haven't seen it. That is quite sad, but no biggie. I mean, it is fun. So I encourage you to check out Apple Clicker. So what Apple Clicker is it's an addictive mini game. It talks about kind of creating game loops that are fun and really interesting and addictive. And so the first thought is how do you make something? So when we think of clicker games, we're usually thinking of Cookie Clicker or some of the ones that you find on mobile, like the Egg Inc., right? And they're these games with lots of repetitive small loops that build into what feels like massive achievements as you unlock things. And so that's what Apple Clicker is based on in terms of the tutorial. It starts with a really simple tutorial introducing you to player variables and kind of creating these, quote, economy systems. And then the second portion is a lot longer. We go into a lot more depth, still talking about player variables and going into how we can use multiple of them across multiple scripts to then give people a chance to level up, buy upgrades, and continue taking this to the next level. So it's a really fun one, quite addicting, really. And so I've been thinking about making it into a world, which is something we might do, which doesn't necessarily require a ton of scripting unless we rewrite stuff. So we'll figure that out in a couple hours. Honestly, I think we're going to get to that around 4 o'clock. So the next things, for what I'd like to talk about for the next hour or so, is actually also, hi Izin, is object-oriented programming. And these fundamentals I think will change the way you script. And I think we need to, as a community, discuss them because many users come into Horizon Worlds with very little scripting knowledge. I know myself, I had nearly nothing, and most of everything I've learned has been via Horizon Worlds. But this means I'm missing out on some core concepts that can allow for some really incredible changes. So I'm going to start with kind of a couple ideas, and then I want to talk more in depth about specific OOP practices and things. So one example is we all write response scripts probably the same way or very similar, which is you make a trigger, you make a script, you get a respawn point, and you say when trigger is entered, respawn player to respawn point. This is an okay way of doing it. And you're like, wait, what do you mean okay? Is there a great way of doing it? It took me a long time today to figure this out, but what I figured out is that is the wrong way to do it. And I think that's crazy to say, like, that the wrong way to do a response script is this simple way. I think it's a great way to teach scripting in Horizon Worlds. It's really easy, but it doesn't get us to, like, if you're doing scripting for an entire world, you're missing out on some really important pieces. So the new way I'd like you to think about it is you have a trigger, you have a respawn point, and this trigger wants people to get respawned at the spawn point. So the trigger has trigger enter by player, and it sends an event to the respawn point with the player as a parameter, and then the spawn point not only respawns the player, but it can do other things. And this is where I think it becomes magical, because you can start with the basic method where it just spawns the player there, but you might be halfway through developing your game and realize, oh wait, now I want all of my spawn points to have visual effects, and I want them to do some sort of animation when the player arrives, play a sound. And by having the script on the spawn point, all these triggers don't have to be wired up. Like, you might have 10 triggers for one world spawn, but now only the spawn point has to be tied into all the things that are relevant right where it's at. Now, if you're teleporting spawn stuff around, lots of cool things. I'd encourage you to do that really early on in your building process, thinking about that. But if you get to it halfway through your game, having it all there is nice because it's all right there. And you don't have to wire it 10 times to get into the other 10 triggers. But it goes beyond that. And it's this thought process that you think about things as being containing small units. So it's very easy to overcomplicate a script. In fact, I remember myself last year saying several times, oh my gosh, you must not be scripting if you've never hit 100% scripting capacity. And I haven't hit 100% scripting capacity in ages. And it's because I started thinking about these things in a very different way. So actually, Waffle gave a talk sometime in the last 12 months, and it was where he said something along the lines of, try to like make things only do one, like try to solve only one hard problem in each script. And I didn't fully understand it really until today. Like, I've been implementing that and it's been helpful, but when you really start thinking about it in these smaller pieces, it can do so much more. And so the initial thought is, oh yeah, so let's talk about a door, for instance. Say you want to open a door. And let's say you start by scripting the door the traditional method, which is when trigger is entered, move door, play sound, play visual effects, send event with delay back to self, close after such and time, or use empty and occupied. However you do it, your door is tied to this trigger. What happens when you want to eventually change this door and you're like, I'm going to add a keypad. Now you have to go find a code, solve a code, whatever, to get the code for the keypad, and the keypad can open the door. Well, it turns out now you have to rewrite the entire way the door works. But if you had done it the way that we had suggested with the trigger and the respawn point, where the trigger sends an open event and it sends a closed event to the door, which then plays the sound and plays the visual effect, you no longer have to change any code on the door, and you only have to write code for your new method, right? So your new method is enter pin, and you write a whole bunch of fancy stuff for this pin, right? And then that gets sent to the door with the simple same open and close events, but now it's tied to this code that you've entered. Basically, it allows you to upgrade your world very easily later on because it's not relying on empty and occupied events. You're not having to rewrite those. And I know I've done a lot of shady, I don't know if that's the right word, shady coding, where basically I'll use the empty and occupied events, but I'll disable the trigger and just send empty and occupied to the script to cause those same open and close. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. I don't think it's easy to read. And I remember, if you guys have watched, I know very few people have seen this, but if you've seen this video, it's the Vidyuu verification program video. In my walkthrough with Sensei Jay at the very end, he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about comments in code, that's for other people. And I was like, dude, no, you don't understand. I just came back after a month and a half of not working on this world, and like to update it, I wanted to add comments to my most complex script to make it easier to read. And because I didn't add comments when I was originally working on it, I didn't know how it worked. I just completely forgot. Like I had been working on other things. And so when I came back to this super complex, super long script, it wasn't easy to understand what was going on. And so that's the thing where good event names, comments in your scripts go a long way to helping you and potentially any of your collaborators who are helping you. Or if you are Crow Black and you bring out Lakes 05 to help you. Just joking, but like literally that would make it so much easier to help. So I think these are like important parts of this process. So let's take a look at your comments and questions, and then we'll start talking about some more on how this really applies. I've been wondering when they will give us API and SDK calls for AI, dialogue, and NPCs in browser windows. Give them like 10 years, honestly. This is the slowest creation process ever. We have 0 outside implementations. I don't expect it anytime soon. If you're expecting it sometime soon, I would go lay back on your hope and start waiting a couple years. Even then, I think a couple years is a little too soon. Like, it should be here in 2 years, but like, there's so much concern. So I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again, which is that Horizon is from Meta, and Meta has the entire world like looking for the smallest flaw so they can like bring down a hammer and try to break them into pieces, because you know there's so much hate for Meta. It's terrible, really. And so because of that, every single thing has to be thought through, and every little idea has to have a fine-tooth comb going through it. You know, it's like you're not allowed to add assets to the asset library, because what if you added a I don't know how to say it, but think of what men have that women don't, right? Or what women have that men don't. Like, what if you put that in the asset library? There's that concern. So it's like, how do they alleviate that? And where I think most apps like a VR chat or any of the other metaverse apps would simply say, well, we just have a report button. You can't do that if you're Meta, right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, some 13-year-old kid accidentally saw this, and we don't know why, because he's not supposed to be here. That shouldn't be in the library. But that then hits the news, and the whole world comes crashing down with, oh my gosh, it's the worst application ever. And it's like, oh no, you guys literally have no idea what VR is. But anyway, so the point is, a lot of thought has to go into it. So outside calls, that stuff just isn't here. Hopefully it gets here in 2 years or sooner, but I'm not holding hope. So you can vote for it in user voice though. So they do listen to our voice. They've implemented tons of things from user voice, even the stuff that has small little requests. So definitely encourage you to vote on user voice, because it is one of the top votes is bring in custom content. And that honestly is part of linking to the outside world. So I'm not saying we shouldn't have it. I'm saying we should. It's just, I don't see it coming anytime soon. So sorry to say that. Enter, trigger, delete door, respawn player to red cylinder with a respawn at bottom of top cylinder. Okay, not sure where you're going with that, but not going to worry about it. So let's start by talking about object-oriented programming as a fundamental piece of a puzzle. So Horizon Worlds is not object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is kind of more like an ideology, almost a system of doing things. I'm not really putting this into good words, so if you're a programmer and you're listening, comment what you would describe object-oriented programming as. But that isn't to say it can't be kind of conceived like that, because we use objects, we put scripts on them, so what's the difference? Well, the difference is, I'm not going to go into the words, but there's tons of things that we don't have access to that would make it more like that. And so I'm just like, how do I summarize this? So there's 4 pieces, and I'm just going to read kind of like the basic generalization of this. Abstraction, so only showing necessary details that are needed in the script. Man, this is so bizarrely abstract to even talk about. Like, and I'm trying to think like how we can talk about this in a Horizon Worlds case, but it's more like if you have a script that has variables contained in it that it only needs for itself. Right, so maybe you have cars that have set speeds and cars with set colors or whatever, or maybe it's a turbo car or something. Whatever the variable is that you're defining it as, it's important to keep that confined in itself. So then the next piece is encapsulation. What does this say? trying to combine things into like larger ideas. So say we're in the car example, so you have an individual like sports car, maybe you have like a sedan, maybe an SUV or whatever. You got different types of cars, they each function differently. And then beyond that, you've got cars as a general concept. And then, man, it just gets so big and wild that it's like really hard to implement any of these things into Horizon Worlds. But I have some thoughts on how we can and how we can apply this. Next is inheritance, which is properties that pass from the parent to the child. Some really interesting things here. And then polymorphism is probably one of the more interesting things, where it's like a thing can kind of like change. So one thought you might have would be like an item, like is at the top level, and then you've got food versus weapons. And so maybe you have an inventory system that can hold items, and then, anyway. Very, very complicated to implement in Horizon Worlds, not gonna lie. But I wrote down some ideas as I was going through this on ways that we can. And so we talked about the door example, where you kind of think about these from the standpoint of the door is its own entity, and it knows how to open, it knows how to close, it knows how to play all its visual effects and sound effects and anything else that the door needs to do. And then the trigger is just there to say, the door, it's occupied, please open, and it sends the open command to the door. So it doesn't need to know anything about the door, it just needs to know that it can send information to it. The next example was that we would send events to the spawn gizmo so that eventually we could upgrade the spawn gizmo to do other things. For instance, I recently did a spawn gizmo where when you arrive, you get gravity pushing you up, so it feels like you've been shot upwards, and so you've got this upward momentum, and that's kind of cool. And having these separated into different gizmos allows us to really add additional functions later, much easier. The next thought is multi-use variables. Updating these by sending a parameter. Okay, so if you start breaking things into individual scripts, like scripted components, the thought then is now you need to pass information to and from. So say in the example of the car, you need to fill it up with gas, right? So first of all, you need to know how much space is available for gas. So you send like an event called get information. It tells you how much space is available. And then once you know that, you can say, I have X available to give you, and then it sends that back through, right? So it's just sending and receiving of events is very important. And so get and write like events are important. And then we want to limit sending parameters. So this is an interesting concept that I think is really hard to implement in Horizon. Horizon already only limits us to 3 parameters, but the thought then is that parameters should be like almost as unnecessary as possible, right? So in the case of the car knows its speed, it knows how much fuel it has, it knows all of these details about itself, and so you ideally do not want to have to tell it its speed every time you communicate with it. So if you were a gas pedal or something that was telling it to move forward, you don't want to have to say with speed, with this, with that. It should know that information, right? So that's stored in its variables. It's just being told go, right? Or if it's a wheel, it's telling it turn right, turn left, etc. So let's see, what else we got here? Where is single units is first? So I guess what I wrote down for myself is kind of like the multi-use variables, like speed, can be updated with these set events, and the single-use parameters, like a player entering a trigger and needing to respawn that player, can be sent as parameters as their single use. So they're kind of like one-offs. They're not going to be going off over and over and over again. If you have a script that's nearly identical, this next idea is that we should take a Boolean. So say, for instance, you have a sports car and a regular car, but the sports car has an extra functionality for like turbo boost. Well, you'd use a Boolean that says is sports car, and when is sports car is enabled, it then has like, maybe you can press your A or your B button and it goes super fast forward, right? And so using Booleans, which are true or false values that you can set as a variable, you can then use an if statement, drop that in there, and do different functionality only if such and such is true. And you can use else to do the alternate. So if it's not a turbo boost, maybe it's something else, like maybe it's a fast braking or something. let's see. And then just kind of taking things and really, honestly, just trying to make them into smaller components. So a big reason I'm even looking into this topic is because we are trying very hard to work on these really massive scripting projects right now. And it's one person has to be in charge of everything and know every little detail, which is not a bad process. The problem is if you ever need to make changes to that script or any of those scripts, if you don't have a unified way of doing things, it becomes very hard to update or know what the other person was thinking. So that's why I'm leaving looking at this, but would love your thoughts, feedback. I'm going to continue working on a document that I'm writing up, and eventually we'll release it to the public, which kind of covers all this information and kind of ways that we can implement these concepts into Horizon Worlds more effectively. Eventually we'll get it added to the Vidyuu verification scripting program. So if you are interested in that, it's vidyuu.com/getvv. Cool program. Sensei Jay does a marvelous job. He honestly can teach you so much. It's amazing. He teaches me all the time, by the way. So like, I know you guys learn from me quite often, but Jay is also quite a good teacher himself. So anyway, thank you guys so much for that. Let's go ahead and read through some of your messages here. Sekek asks Crow, you have a blue rose sword too. Ah, yes, they're talking about theirs. Yes, thank you, Sekek. I know, right? Look at these swords. They're so good. Okay. They're just like talking about swords. This is great. I love it. Keep it up, you guys. That's fine. So, it looks like a lot of people didn't even know there was a part 2. Part 2 just released. So we're talking about Apple Clicker, by the way. So Apple Clicker is the poll that's going on right now. You can go vote for it. If you've seen it, go ahead and vote for that. If you've seen both parts, vote for that. If you have no idea that there was a second part, vote for that. And if you've never seen it, vote for that. So what is Apple Clicker? Apple Clicker is an addictive minigame loop, and I think we're going to go into that in here in just a moment. And we're going to start building it into an actual playable game rather than just being this kind of concept build that we previously built. And so in the past we built this button, you click it, does stuff, another button, you click it, it also does stuff. But it's really addicting, I promise. You know, the one thing I've been trying to figure out still is after I watched that video, I was like, I still don't understand how that set pitch is working because it was not functioning the way you'd expect it. Negative pitch just didn't seem to work correctly. So that's quite interesting. So go ahead and vote for those. We're going to dive into that in just a minute. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask that. And we can use this cool tool that's hiding behind me. And I'll show you guys real quick if you've just joined that we have a scripting tool that makes it so much easier to talk about scripting. It's this one right here. And this is a tool being developed by Wafflecopters that allows us to kind of like script without it being shaky head. And he does provide access to this using his House of Waffle. Sometimes he'll ask for testers. It's still very much a work in progress, but really appreciate him letting me use this to show you guys some cool scripts. And so this script here that we were looking at was when world is started, add player to basically allowed you to have VIPs able to view an object. It was pretty neat. If you're interested in that, I encourage you to scroll back to the beginning of the video where we talk about that pretty early on. Okay, so I'm going to keep the poll open so we can keep hearing your guys' ideas and debating opening this up. This document up here, I started working on it yesterday before I did any research myself, and I was just like, this is a cool idea. But it's like, it's really bad. It's really bad. So I'm not even going to open it. Let's go ahead and start booting up Horizon. So I'll get my headset up here. Curious what you guys are working on. Feel free to comment what you guys have been building, creating, or not creating. Like Apple Clicker, which I thought I was going to build, but never got around to. QQ. So yeah, let's go do that. And if you have any thoughts about anything we've talked about, you're welcome to leave that in the comments as well. Whether that's now or in the future, we'll definitely see that. And if you're watching and haven't given the video a like, if you wouldn't mind hitting that little like button, we really appreciate it. Definitely helps the YouTube algorithm. Okie dokie, logging in. Switching user. So this is under my account, and I need to switch into, I kind of want to build this under Vidyuu's account. so that we can publish it as a Vidyuu world. So I'm Link05, by the way. Vidyuu is the brand. In case that wasn't clear, I know sometimes it can be confusing, but I do like having worlds under Vidyuu, but we haven't really. It's just so much harder to switch back and forth between accounts, and it's not easy to like transfer ownership of a world. And so I'm not even sure where I've stored Apple Clicker as a thing. Like, kind of wondering. So I might need to figure that out. I'm not sure if I need to update Horizon as well. We'll find that out here. Oculus. Okay. Library. Does not need an update, it doesn't look like. Although I really don't trust that it doesn't need an update, so I'm going to just restart it just in case. Library, start. No, apparently doesn't need an update. Cool. So then what I need to do is wherever Apple Clicker is stored, I'm going to add Vidyuu as a collaborator so I can go grab a copy of it and then build a world. And then we want to build like an apple tree-esque world. So first of all, if you'd like to join Horizon, I think this is so dangerous. Give me a second. Oh man. What else do we got from the chat? I just saw a new comment come in, and a friend over here says, Will, I wish they would add that type of editor to the creations page on Facebook. I agree, right? Oh my goodness, that would be so nice. Okay, so I think this would be stored in asset planning because it's literally been that long that world, I think that's where I had it stored. 18 days ago is the last time I was in Vidyuu asset planning. That's sad. Yeah, we're working on another series of assets. I don't know when it's going to come up because I'm just so busy. I don't even know what's in the next pack of assets. I have it literally open right here, though. I can quickly take a peek. So, sneak peek, our next set of assets is going to be... Oh, it's so hard to scroll here. There it is. Okay, so we're looking at... Oh, an elevator. So some moving items, some laser lights, selfie signs, smoke fountain, very nice. Microphone with a Q. It's interesting because we've released a few different versions of this already. That's a good one though, I like that one. The VIP door, moderation paper, and the portable version of the boombox. Lots of work there to be done to get those out. But basically the theme is going to be events. And so I might get some other stuff linked in there. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure. I also need to go fix the maze, which has been daunting on me. I don't know if I should fix it or not because it works in build mode, but it doesn't work in published mode. So there's like some sort of error, but I'm not sure if I should just go fix it or not. Okay, this world has nothing in it, and that's interesting. So my assets, search for please sort, and Apple Clicker is not in here. So either I think there's an Apple Clicker world. Apologies guys while I find this. It's like Apple doesn't exist in your create menu. Maybe it is under the Vidyuu account? Like maybe I added the asset already to the Vidyuu account library. So I'm going to quit out of here and start sharing my screen with you guys. So quest link and connected launch. Okay, launching quest link. This game goes well with a big cup of Soylent. What? I just saw an ad for Soylent, by the way. My goodness. They like are really embracing their name. It's so crazy. I have two friends who are super big on it too. They're like, I use it for when I go out on trips and I don't have food. And I'm like, I like food. I'm gonna keep my food, please. Oh man, comment if you guys drink Soylent, and if you don't know what it is, this is not a sponsor, seriously. I'm not going to be eating Soylent anytime soon. Okay, I've just loaded into my menu, library, Horizon Worlds is launching now, there we go. So it should start appearing in the stream, I think. There it is, cool, we're loading in. And then I want to make sure that I switch to better audio, one moment. And that's weird. There it goes. Okay, we've got good video, good audio, and I just need to link in the chat so I can see you guys. If you want to know how you can watch videos and see chat like this in your space while you're playing on the Quest Link, check out that video a few weeks ago by Jackal Dude on the channel. It was really good. Okay, adding Chrome live chat. There we go. All right, so I've got you guys right there, and pin to experience, and resume Horizon Worlds. Nice. Okay, so I can see you. You guys can see me. Hey, it's See Me Bro. Would you look at that? We're gonna go. Oh wait, does See Me Bro drink Soylent? Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you out. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Okay, we're gonna search up some apples. Nope, that's not it. I'm gonna assume that I'm gonna need to create this as a brand new world because I don't think it exists. Create new world, blank world, and it'll be called APPLE, Apple Clicker, and create. There we go. Also, looking for better name ideas. So if you got a better idea than Apple Clicker, please, please, appreciate it. Oh, no, you don't drink it. Oh, okay, you're good then. Hi, Sekek. Okay, switching back over here. Nice. Great to have y'all joining us. We've just arrived in this empty world where I'm hoping I have this asset in my asset library. We'll find out. Search for APP Apple Clicker Mark II. My goodness, it's here. Very nice. Okay, so this is ugly and really needs some new thoughts. So we're going to come back to that. I'm going to double check you guys look good. Does look good on my side. Oh, and we don't even have the thing anymore. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, that is so nice. Do we have that weird? Oh, we totally do have this weird thing. So you're going to see it for just a second. There's like a black ring around my screen up there, and I don't know why. So I had to zoom in just a little bit. That's fine. Okay. Horizon Worlds on desktop. Can you tip on this virtual keyboard as fast as you do on a physical one? I used to until they updated it recently. I used to be really fast, like really, really fast. So search AP. Yeah, see, that's the problem. This is the problem with the new keyboard is I go in and I try to type and it doesn't type. It just like goes through. And then it doesn't always get the characters. Like I literally felt haptics for both P's and they didn't type. I don't know why the new keyboard is so shitty, but my understanding is everybody has accepted that it's shitty. Sorry, am I going to get demonetized for saying that word? What I'll say is dirty. It's very dirty. That's definitely not helping. Never mind. Anyway, so welcome. And basically my quote tip on how to use this keyboard is to go slowly. So you go A, P, P, L, E, and then tap it a few times. Way, way more annoying, but hey, at least it works. Okay. So after years of practice, I mean, literally it did take me 2 years to get really good at it. And then they deleted the old keyboard and replaced it with a new one that just is so much harder to use. I think what I've been told though, is it's supposed to be raycast like this. And I've never typed with Raycast because, as you guys can probably see, this is really far from the screen. So I have to bring it up here so you can even see it in the video recording. So I've always typed with my fingers, which is really fast because just like in the real world, we type with our fingers and it's like, or maybe you type with all your fingers. I mean, if I had all my fingers, my goodness. But if you're using the Raycast, maybe it does work better. I don't know if I like this. I really hate this. I really hate this. It did get all the characters though, and it was a little bit faster. So I guess if you're using Raycast, you might be able to get faster, but I'm going to keep using my fingers and complaining until I admit defeat. Okay, so by the way, if you haven't checked this out, there was a new drop of assets under the featured section with brand new meshes. And I'm not going to say they're good meshes. I just want to say there are new meshes. And so you're going to find some of these guys in here, which are pretty cool. So feel free to use those. I'm not going to because they're so expensive. Although this one is kind of cool. This kind of shape is nice. This is okay, I guess. But I'm not using those. So what I wanted to do, though, was start with design. Oh, and I'm in a safety space. Okay, hopefully you can still hear me. Double check, test, test, test. We're good. And yeah, I want to start with design. I love starting with design because it makes the world feel fun. So here's our spawn point, and I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to go to the games section and scroll down to the Vidyuu stuff and pull out some of the assets I like teleport and respawn. We definitely want to use, what else do we need in here? We'll probably need a return script at some point, so I'll pull that one out. And the timer would be fun, but I'm going to ignore that for now. Switching the time of day could be a lot of fun. So if you're playing, and that gets rid of our floor, by the way, so be careful with that one. Everything else I think is okay. I really do like putting in text information, like the text formatting reference I think is a lot of fun, but not in this world. The welcomes are fun. Welcome so-and-so, so we'll welcome somebody as they arrive. We don't need that. The geometric complexity is fun as well. And then some other cool assets under the community spotlight. These are the other 20 that have been added from the Vidyuu pack. Like the digital clock I thought would be fun to redesign with all the time zones in mind. And I want this to be outdoors, so nothing in here. I love the broomstick though. Like that could be a fun little like mini activity as you're playing. And so basically, I'm just starting to think about all the things that we want people to have access to in here, like the Vidyuu microphone. Somebody might want to be like the host of the show or something. Hyper pencils are fun, but they probably just get distracting and in the way. So I love Hyperjewel's pencils, by the way. So good. The bounce house is super cool, but super irrelevant here. And I think that, audio and text information could be super useful. I also want this sign. Okay. So we're going to use a lot of Vidyuu assets to make this really quickly. I also found this over here. Not sure where that came from, although I kind of wanted to pull it apart and see what it looks like. It's a singular piece mesh. Looks nice though. Not going to keep it though. Sekek says, I started with the ray, but yeah, using the tip is faster because closer to hand, less angle movement required. Ignore that, was still talking about the virtual keyboard. No, you're good, you're good. Okay, so we need to put in a floor. So I'm going to go ahead and, I'm really debating having the, stop this, clear. And really debating having the time of day in here. It is a lot of fun to switch time of day, but I really want to set the mood and know the lighting. So I'm going to delete this so that we have full control over that. I don't want this one. I only want this one because this broomstick is my favorite broomstick of all time now. If you haven't used it, it's incredible. And we're going to need our own environment gizmo so we can set the environment. So now the grid's back, which is coolish. We're going to remove the grid entirely anyway. We're going to drop fog density. And we're going to set this to be winter sky, maybe? Yeah, I'm going to show you guys something that Rexrod recently kind of taught me. Kind of. I learned it from him. VoIP settings are going to be on extended. Should be okay. And we can always come back and adjust this later too. So This thing that I recently learned from Rexrod is pretty crazy, by the way. So first let's put in a ground. So shapes, grab out this cube, and this is going to represent the floor. Make sure it's level. Snap it out nice and big. There we go. Oh, and I want to make sure I accidentally changed my settings. Yep, it's still on 15 degrees. Okay, good. And so this is nice. This will be the play space for now. We're going to redesign this in a minute, but for now this is okay. I'm just going to throw a green on it for funsies. And then I want to duplicate this up and into the sky. So when you're looking at this sky, you can see that the sky up here has a uniform color of blue. And so if I grab a blue, throw it as unlit, and do this, if you get this just right, you can actually get this color to be the exact color up there. And it just does this really crazy thing. So I'm going to try and see if I can't get this right. It's super painful on my neck, not going to lie. But I think the ground is the same, and I'd rather look down. So I think, is that the same? I don't think it is. Never mind, that's not the same. Okay, undo. Okay, how do I get that blue specifically? Welcome, Jimmy. Great to have you. We are building a virtual room right now, and I was going to show how to do this really cool skybox thing, and I landed somewhere. Let's see. Okay, there's the spawn point. Move that down to the ground. This is collidable, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. There we go. So I'm looking up and I don't even see it. Is it just out of our render distance? It must be, because that is a very different blue. Okay, so, okay, so, wait, where? Never mind, that thing's huge. There we go, that's more like it. Okay, so I spawn in, look up, that's horrible. So we really want to get this blue just right. So, maybe we'll shift it this way. Oh, there it is. That's really close. Okay, now we're like actually getting close. Now I think what we can do to blend this together is just drive it up a little bit higher. And we can see it needs to be a little bit darker. So grabbing this color, we're going to shift this just a little bit to the left. And then that's really getting close. And so I think it just needs to be shrunk down a little bit. And then our goal here, so in addition to blending it with the skybox, is that we want it to have light emitting on it. And so it turns out when it's unlit, if you read the properties, it says unlit by static lighting. But if you go to your gizmos section, we have a dynamic light, which is not the same as that. So what we can do, which is crazy, by the way, is we turn this into a point light is fine. We'll keep it as white, turn up the intensity to crazy, turn up our fall off distance, and we can light up the unlit surface, which means we can put in a sun that's bright in the middle of the sky. And so we'll go grab an unlit white that looks like it has little rays shining off of it, like that. And now when we look up, you get that look, which is so crazy because that's never been possible in Horizon. Like, absolutely mind-blowing. So if that doesn't just blow you away, huge thank you to Rexrod who showed me that. So also, it's totally neck straining. Do not encourage looking up. But the trick is it doesn't blend in well enough. So to blend it in, I think the right method is to add just a little bit of fog. So where's our fog? Here it is. So we'll drag fog up by 0.01. And then when we look up, oh, it's not even visible. So let's try slightly lower than 0.01. What's the lowest we can go? There we go. Look at that. It almost blends in perfectly. You can still see some of the cube, but what we know about the cube is that we don't need it to be right there. And we don't need it to be right there. And we don't need it to be right there. It just needs to be where the light is, right? Because otherwise it should be blending. So we look up, it's closer to being perfect, but I think we still need just a hair more fog. So driving that up just a hair. Okay, that might be as close as we're going to get, and then we'll just group this together and slide it down, I think. Yeah, look at that. Oh, there's still a little edge. I think the color is a little bit off. It needs to be a tad darker. So we'll go into our style tab and just darken that a little bit. There, that's pretty good. Anyway, that would probably blow away your peeps watching. So yeah, so there we go. Let's go and maybe grab a couple things to really liven this up a little bit more. This is a diamond, or excuse me, a pyramid, and we'll turn it into a diamond by doing that. Selecting these two, we can scale that down, then duplicate and rotate, and then grab this unlit white. Excuse me, let go. Then thumbsticking to the left, I can grab that color, and there we go. So now this is unlit white. Now what we need to do is stretch these out. So I'm going to open up the properties panel of all four at the same time, and then, excuse me, and then under attributes, we can change them simultaneously. Now this isn't going to work, but that's okay. This is at 4.25 thickness, but these are at 14. So if we stretch these to 150, what does that do? Oh, that's so much bigger than 150. 150. Wowza. That went the wrong way, but the idea is there. So I'm going to stretch this. Oh, wrong way. Select, and then we're going to slide this, snapping it to the center point here. There it is. Then select this one and go the opposite direction. And then do the same thing, but I'm going to just delete these because this is faster. Select both of these, duplicate and rotate. There we go. Wait, what? Why is the center over there? Okay, that didn't duplicate correctly for some reason. I don't know why, but this is okay. We got this. There we go. Now the center point's there. Duplicate. Nice. And then when you group these together, we can then shrink this down to be a reasonable size. I know it's hard to see on all this, but you'll see the idea in just a second. What we want to do is basically open up the properties panel of this and then switch on animation, although I think that turns on automatically. So we go to attributes tab, turn on lock Y. Which freeform might be the better method, but I need to get the positioning just right. So let go of it. Oh, but it also needs to be set to animated. Okay, so it doesn't set to animated automatically. Okay, this is pretty close. So I need to stop the world. Wait, the world is stopped. Oh, this thing is so funny. Okay, so we got to turn this off, and it's off by 90 degrees. And I just need to zoom into it and rotate it 90 around this axis, I think. Yeah, okay, so zooming out and then turn this back on to lock Y. Okay, so we're like in the right zone here. Now I want to turn it on freeform because it just wasn't right. That's a little bit better. So now when we come down here and look up at it, you get this. For some reason, it looks very different. It could be smaller. I'm not sure why the whites are different. Must be because it's animated or something. Like right here, it looks fine. So I'm kind of wondering if I grab this and then bring it down, if it'll look better. No, huh, strange. Well, anyway, you get the idea. I think maybe text might work better than a physical object, but it's pretty cool. So, I've lost you guys. Oh, there you are. Is there anything you have to pay for? The headset. The VR headset is what you have to get. Everything else in here is free to build with. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And these are about $400, so not super expensive. There's a new one coming out that's a pro model, so it should be pretty expensive. But that's supposed to be coming out in the next couple months. So just heads up on that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at here is how do we design this park? And I've been debating whether or not I like the aesthetics we have here. So we've got some white off in the background. We have, what do I think of this color? And this is where things go all wonky with our sky up there, as I might change it to more like a daytime blue. So it's got kind of the opposite, which then totally messes up all this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it, but it was a cool technique. Glad I could show you that. And hopefully that helps y'all sometime. Now, we have this welcome sign. And we're going to change this later. I like these bushes a lot, so those are kind of cool. These signs are kind of neat for the time, but I didn't really want to touch them just yet. The respawn point we need to put below the world, just kind of like to get us started. So I'm going to go do that real quick. And so I'm going to snap this over here and then slide this over here. And we could just stop there, but I like to put in a collider below this so that if somebody does fall through, they have something to fall onto. And then I also like to make this invisible. So we'll turn visibility off on it. And then what we can do is duplicate it and put this on all 4 sides. And so we'll do that so that people theoretically aren't falling off the edges anywhere either. And then if I snap this to here, I'm going to duplicate this one and then duplicate from this point. Oops, excuse me, duplicate from this point and rotate. Then using my array tool on the left hand, I can array into a cube, which is pretty cool. And then the last step would be to take this bottom floor and drive that up here. And the reason this is important is because you'll remember we brought in those broomsticks that you can fly around on, and they are right here. So if I grab this broomstick and set this out over here, just for now, just to kind of demonstrate, you can imagine we have a few of these. Again, array tool to make multiple. And then when I come in and grab one, I'm going to grab 2 because I want to demonstrate something. So if you pull your index, oh, right. A couple of problems with this. So to use these broomsticks, you have to do, and this is getting big. There we go. To use these broomsticks, you have to go to your world tab, player settings, and then change it to custom player movement has to be on. So that's important. And then I also want to drive our capacity up to 32 just for now to keep things limited. Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I was just like literally working on people. So I'm setting it to maximum 32 people can be here simultaneously. Problem is that limits what I can build with. So I think this is going to become a huge problem. But if I had 32 broomsticks, that'd be a lot of fun. So like, let's see, if I go and say right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if I want 32, then we'll go and bring out, that's 12. That's supposed to be 18, but it didn't slide over correctly. I think I can just slide it like that. There we go. So that's 18. And then for 32, we need 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Okay. So this is 32 broomsticks, which is pretty crazy, but this would allow 32 people to fly around all at the same time. And our capacity meter is still really reasonable. We still got 13% left on simulation and a ton left on geo and objects. And we haven't really even touched sound, but we'll go ahead and hit play. And so here we can go grab this one and this one. And now we can fly around. You can see the broomsticks down there. Huge fan of this flying mechanic. And it's a lot of fun. And if you have 2 of them like I do, you can use them kind of like... what do you call Iron Man? They kind of work like Iron Man gloves if you have 2 of them. So these are neat. And then, oh, so that was the reason I put in this roof, right? Because we don't want people going through the roof. So I think I'm going to hit the ceiling. Yep, so I've hit the ceiling. And if I fly this way, I'll hit the wall. And I definitely don't want people to be able to see the edges of this. So we're going to work on that first. So yeah, these are pretty cool though. I'm going to let go of those. They instantly return. I'm still flying. I landed. Nice. Oh, no. Oh, I'm still alive. I made it to the salt and pepper shakers and down to here. So let's go and work on some walls out in the background. And so when I say walls, I really just mean like aesthetically walls. Let's see. Go ahead and stop and clear. Go to under assets. You'll find some pretty cool stuff down here in the asset library. They've got some environment stuff that's neat. Lava falls, that's brand new. I haven't seen that one before. Oh gosh, they're so big though. It's like, look how big that is. Look, my world is massive. This thing is huge. Like, I don't know who they designed this lava fall for, but like that's probably a more reasonable size. There we go. And then when you spawn in, now there's kind of like a destination you could go to out there. And if we go up close to it, you can see this is still pretty big. I mean, oh, and it's non-collidable, which is insane because I never would have imagined them to do that. Thank you, Horizon. Really appreciate that. So it's just aesthetic. I love that. So it's kind of like meant to be really far off beyond. So you can imagine you put this off like that. And now you have some sort of like off in the distance pieces, kind of like that. That's nice. So then if I ungroup this, I can then select all of these, open the properties panel. Oh, they're still non-collidable. Nice. Then we could duplicate this and start building out over to this area. And so if we think of this as being just a background aesthetic, we can then do this. And then grabbing these cubes. Oh, is that a? Interesting. And then we can start building kind of like a lava flow zone, right? So this is where the lava flows. And we'll really customize this here so it's our own. There we go. Nice. And then these lava shapes are interesting. They're definitely, this is not a good shape. This is a very bad shape. If you find these, delete them. Go delete these. These are so bad. So I'll show you why. That shape, we go to our game items. You're going to find the geometric complexity meter. And we were just looking at this one. This guy here, you can have 29 per 1% versus the cubes, which are 50. And since this is off in the distance and nobody's going to see it, like no one's going to know that you used this versus a cube. Or if you really need it to be rounded, the sphere can be flattened in a very similar way. And it also gives you 47 per 1%. So it's many, many, many more objects. So definitely be careful when using anything from orange to red. And if you want more of these, facebook.com/Vidyuu/photos. We have a bunch listed there. So feel free to check those out. Oh yeah, feel free to go to work. Thanks for stopping by, Jimmy. Appreciate it. And y'all, we do have live comments. You can comment anything you want. I can see them live, which is awesome. So feel free to engage, ask questions, make suggestions. Appreciate the engagement here. It's a lot of fun. And we're just going to continue building this kind of little lava flow. And then we'll get to all the scripting components in a little bit. Just enjoying ourselves here as we kind of let this flow down. Very cool. I'm going to select this and stretch that down. And we're going to grab this one. And these are unlit, so they blend together really nicely. And so that unlit property is here on your style tab. So we've selected unlit, which is basically going to allow us to stretch this, fill this space, and it just looks really nice. Now for the drips, I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that in just a moment. So this here, I don't think we need this because we're not going to be getting up close with it. So I'm pretty sure that this will look more or less identical to what it would have otherwise looked like. So this is fine. Now we want it to look like this is coming out of here. And I like where they've started with this, but I'm going to use this shape here with an unlit black so that it looks like it's a cave, and make sure it's all the way in the top left black. If you use the bold discovery black, it's not black. I know that sounds crazy, but it's not. So this will look like it's kind of coming out of here. Not necessary, definitely not a necessary cave element to add, but I think it is just quite nice to add just a little bit there. And then down here looks good. This isn't perfect, so I'm going to grab this piece and just kind of put them in like that. And this area I was thinking would be nice to almost build like a lava spill zone. So you kind of think of this being the edge. So I'm going to actually let this kind of bend into the ground like that. And then do the same thing here. And then this probably could even stretch out a little bit further. But what I want to do is go back here, grabbing that sphere we had just talked about, thumbsticking to the left to grab this orange color. We can then stretch this out and flatten it to make some drips. Make sure you open the properties panel by pressing forward towards your thumbstick to towards properties. And on here, we're going down to collidable and turning this off. It's important to turn off collidable because otherwise the physics engine is just like, yo, let's collide. And it's like, no, I didn't need to collide with you. And so what I'm doing here is just developing a few drips. So it kind of looks like it's pouring down this, this area here. I think this looks pretty nice. I'm going to select this and then stretch and then scale it up just a hair. And you'll notice we have this space here that's not filled in, so I can stretch this one to fill in that gap. Now from back here in the distance, it kind of looks like the lava is starting to come down towards us, which is neat. We don't need the fog anymore, so we'd put up this fog, but we don't really need it. So I'm going to drop it down to almost nothing. And so now there's a little bit of fog, like it's getting far away. We'll clean this up on the edges. We're just starting this one piece right now. And we're going to head back in here. What I think would really help this is if we select these three pieces. So select this one, and this one. Deselect the ground, duplicate and slide this up. And then what we're going to do is turn this into, so I'm going to grab unlit again, and then change this into some sort of like transitional color. So manual color slider, drop it into kind of like almost a dark brown, make it a solid so it's less, there we go. So it's starting to transition, and then I'm going to duplicate it one more time, and we're going to see it kind of like almost like it's crystallized into obsidian. So I'm going to just go down into this super dark color here, and that's really good actually. And then texture could be more shiny or less shiny. I'm going to do less shiny. And then we actually have some other properties in here for texture. So I'm going to go fractured on this. And then make sure it's fractured large and not aligned to the object so that it blends together with the other objects. And now you can see that it kind of blends through this. So with these three put together, I'm going to stretch this down like that. Put this here. Then I'm going to stretch this in the same manner. Then what I want to do is kind of layer them together. So we get this, kind of going into that, then selecting these three again, which messed it up. So deselect. And then select, there we go. Now we're going to put this into here, which I think is going to need a little bit more skewing or just some manual adjustments really. So this isn't too bad, but this really needs some love. There we go. Okay, so from a distance, it kind of looks like it's transitioning and flowing down the line there. I think it might even be a little too detailed on this area. And so now that we've added this in, we don't really need this guy. So we can actually stretch this one through the whole area. So I'm going to delete this one, stretch this through here. And this is really important to think about when you're building very complex, like large, complex worlds. Because you'll remember, we don't have a ton of complexity to work with. So I'm going to hand slide this in here. Kind of right there is nice. And then we can also take this one, I think, and turn this into two pieces. I think this is just going to look a little bit better. So I'm trying to grab this one here. It's a little difficult when they're this close together. You could use the lock tool. I don't think I'm going to just yet, at least. So there's that. And then we can set this right there. And I'm going to stretch this down in. Let's see. Nice. And then we got this one here, which I want to do the same thing with. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty neat. It's not too bad. It's definitely kind of looks like a lava. There's definitely a lot more we could do to that, but I think it's a good starting point. And so this area over here, we can see is a very rocky area. Now there are some other better shapes for rocks, like this one here is fantastic. You can get 2 cubes for each one of these though, so be careful. But if you're looking to make a space that looks like this, right? So you want it to look like 3. So let's pull out that this guy under game items. Sorry, I'm like, where is it again? So pulling out this guy, love this guy. You can see that the faceted cylinder, that's what this guy is called, is got 32 objects per 1%. So if you knew that you wanted to use 3 cubes to make a shape that looked like this, then this is a lot better than using 3 cubes to make this shape. So it's not a bad object to use. You just need to recognize that you can get 20 to 30% more objects with the cube. So use these sparingly. And oops, probably should lock these edges here since they're invisible most of the time. There we go. And I'm going to shrink this down, just kind of adding some elements here to make it more interesting to look at. And my goal is really to connect it into the rest of the world like this. Once again, making this non-collidable since the users won't actually be in this space. There we go. And it's almost kind of nice like that, even. And we can kind of, like, using multiple objects together, create very interesting overlap shapes, right? Like this. And so then that's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. So definitely something that could be played with. Cool. So we'll come back to that. I'm going to go ahead and set this guy over here. And then we just want to make sure as we're building things like this that we're watching that capacity meter, because geometric will fly through the roof before you know it. It's just something to really keep an eye on. Now, checking out your comments. Are there fluid elements like in Minecraft? Unfortunately, there isn't. There really should be. It would be super cool, right? Like if you had that. But unfortunately, nothing like that from the standpoint of just creation where you can just pull out a fluid. I would love that. But what you could do instead would be like do it yourself. I know that sounds crazy. But say, for instance, and this is going to get a little absurd here in a moment. So this is fine. I'm going to quickly, actually, I think I've got it on me. Let's see, where is slime? I built a slime the other day that looked really cool. Okay, so here's our slime. And I'll see if I can remember how to use this guy. Script and play world. So when you walk up, the slime becomes visible, right? Nope. I could swear that's how it worked. Ah, there's the slime. Okay. So once the slime's visible, he does this kind of like bouncing animation. And so there's tons of objects and there's scripts you can write, which allow, yeah, okay, this guy needs to be lower. But basically what this guy does is when you touch him, you can kind of like slap him. So you walk up and he like appears and he kind of bounces. And then if you touch the top of him, he kind of like bounces again. And it's almost like you're playing with a little bit of Jello. So it's quite neat. You can jump on him too, which is a lot of fun. And so yeah, there's like things you can do to be water fluid-esque, but definitely this isn't acting like a fluid, right? And so if you consider that, like, I'm going to stop the world for a second. If you consider that in Minecraft, and I'm going to delete all of this now that we're done with it, that the fluid of water more or less looks like this but blue. And so if I open up the properties, I can make this blue. So right now it's using hex code. So I've got 30 red, FF for green. So if I drop this to AA, which is about what, like 66%, something like that, 60 to 75%. And then for blue, I go up to FF, and then 50% opacity, or that's not 50%, it's like, anyway. But we get our water color, right? So now this looks like water, which is the goal. So now I group it together, right? Okay, so now I've got this guy that kind of looks like water. And so if we consider that in Minecraft, water looks like this, and then as it hits a certain portion, it basically drops down and looks like that. If we recognize this is kind of what water looks like in Minecraft, we can script water behaviors. It's not easy. I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. I'd recommend you go to that user voice link that I posted before and ask people to, or ask Horizon to add fluids. But this could be done. So I'm going to just, for the sake of argument, try and create this because I think it sounds like a fun challenge. So give me 1 second to sort my thoughts here. So undo, 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 undo. What I want this to be is 1 meter. Okay, so this does not exist. Okay, so we have this, and I really want this to be a 1 meter cube, so that way when I'm working with it mathematically, it's super easy to work with. And so I'm going to grab this cube that's 1 meter, attributes, and scale this to 1, 1, and 1. So this is equivalent to 1 block in Minecraft. That's what size this is right here. So this is what a block in Minecraft looks like if you are keeping track. So then we want this to look like that. The issue is, of course, these edges. And so when we think about this, we're going to think about this from the standpoint that we don't care about the edges so much. And so I'm going to ungroup this, grabbing this piece here, centering it there. Apologies for the flicker, guys. I'm going to go ahead and turn off visibility on this. Visibility off. There we go, that fixed it. Then we can lock this in place and then snap this to here, snap this to here, snap this to here, snapping this to here. We can then duplicate this down to there, and I don't need these because I've got a copy over here. And so, yes, I'm building every side of this block of water. And there we go. Looks good. And then rotate. Oops. Undo. Undo. Okay, duplicate again. There we go. Okay, so this is nearly perfect. We could make this a little bit more perfect, but for the case of this demonstration, just go ahead and group that together, slide it off to the side, and we can now unlock and delete this. Now, because we have this at quote 1 meter, we can then scale this in such a way that it scales proportionally. So ideally what I'd like this to do is move 1 meter to the right, which... let's see if I can do that. So I set this here. This is at 1 meter, and then we go 1 meter to the right. Should be like roughly there. And then I scale it in half. Should be roughly there. We then get, basically stepping water is the idea. So the next thing to do is to open the properties of this and then create an asset under the bricks category. These are just my personal assets. And I'm going to call this one water, and then 1 meter cubed, and then take a thumbnail photo and picture. And then it's invisible. That's funny. Looks good. Click create. And now that I've got this as a asset, I can then spawn these in. So theoretically, I can just spawn it in like water. So I'll go to my gizmos tab, and I'm going to write a script that runs on this primary source, quote, source block of water, right? And then this source block of water will have a variable referencing that. So it's an asset variable that references the water. I'll call this water and confirm. And then on here, we're going to the drop down, and we're going to select, oh, I forgot to name it. Call this water source. Now, if we used raycast, we could like really refine this, but for this case, we're just going to assume it's on a flat ground. But if you had like uneven ground, you'd want to use some raycast for that. So water source, and then the goal here is to attach the water source script. So drop down, select water source, and then we need to open our asset menu, go to the bricks category, selecting the water cubed, and drop this into here. Okay, so we've dropped water in. It didn't seem to attach, so we'll try that again. There it is. Okay, so we've got water tapped in, and it's still not saving, so apologies. Just recent bug, but should fix. Double check. There we go. Okay, got it. So then what we're going to do just to test this out is spawn water to the 4 cardinal directions of this. And so I'm going to bring this down to the ground. There we go. And then when world is started, we want to spawn water forward, back, left, and right. And I'm going to do this in the much more mathematical method. So apologies if this goes a little beyond mathematically, but I'll try and teach it as we go. So we're going to spawn an asset in 4 different positions. The asset is the same asset, which is that water asset. The orientation of this should be the rotation of self because it's going to be oriented in the same orientation as it currently is. So we'll scroll down and grab rotation of object, dragging self over, thumb sticking to the right to duplicate, and then duplicate that into these 4 slots. Now with water in all of these spots, we do need to define where it's spawning to. Is the world stopped? Script. Good. The world is stopped. And so then the position is going to be 1 meter forward, 1 meter back. And so what we need to do is create a new vector variable. This just makes it a little bit easier. It's going to be called current position. Click confirm. We're going to then go to our values tab to set current position and set the current position value to be over here, position of self. Now that we have position of self, we'll remember that we made this 1 meter for a reason, so it's easy to work with. If we go to our operators tab, we have forward direction of object. If we just simply add the forward direction to the position of self, it will spawn 1 on the, let me double check that I say this correctly, the Z positive. So Z positive happens to be this way. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees so it's pointing forward. So this is Z positive. This is Y negative. So I'm going to actually flip this over. So now Y positive is facing up. So this is our upward direction. This is now our forward direction. And then we've got our left and our right. So with that, we can then say plus and minus. So we grab the plus symbol for the first one, the minus symbol for the next one, where we'll put current position into the A slot and this A slot, and then we'll grab forward direction. Now this forward direction is 1 meter in length. If we needed to adjust that, we'd just multiply it by the length that we'd like it to be. And so we're going to grab the forward direction of self. And then we also want to get the leftward and rightward direction. And to get those values, we use the cross calculation. Where is that? Down here under vector math, you're going to find cross, which allows us to take the forward, cross the upward, which returns the left or the right, depending on the order we put them in. So I'll cross this, and then we'll go down here back to position of object, and we have upward direction of object. So we'll drop that into the A here, the B there, forward direction into the B and then the A, and then dropping self into both of these slots. And now when we hit play world, we should have 4 cubes of water spawn. Okay, not perfect. 2 of them didn't appear. I think because they're up there. I forgot to add the forward and yes. So we'll duplicate. In fact, that's actually a really interesting query. So basically, if we add the rightward direction then subtract, anyway, I think we're going to continue with the way that we have it, but anyway, so we're going to add and then subtract the opposite. So, or no, excuse me. We're going to add both of them. Excuse me. There we go. So if you didn't see exactly what I did, I forgot to use the plus symbol to add it to the current position, so it didn't actually get placed in the right spot. But there you go. There are 4 pieces of water all placed. So the next goal is that we cut their size in half. And so as these get spawned in, we need to scale them in half and move them down by 0.5 meter. And so we're going to stop for a second and go to here where you'll notice that when my event is received happens after these are spawned in. So I'm going to create a new event called, so I'm going to rename this event more or less. It's called water spawn. And so water spawned will come after the water gets spawned. Okay. And it will actually be received with, let's see if that saved that for me. It didn't. Okay. New, excuse me, cancel. New event. I have to type this one more time. Water spawned. And then this is received with the object parameter for the asset that was spawned. And so this will be called new asset. Okay. And confirm. So when water is spawned with that new asset, what we want to do to this new asset is shrink it in size. So we just go to the motion tab where we can start by scaling new asset to be half. So I'll just cut this in half, 0.5. And then we want to move it down because it's currently at 1 meter and we're scaling it in half. We need to move down by half of that, so 1/4 meter. So then we'll grab the move by, should be okay. And then we're going to move it by 0 minus 0.25. And that should move them in half. So we'll go ahead and hit play. Ah, it did it to 1. Oh, it did it to self. Ha. Because I forgot to swap this with new asset. There we go. And then the last thing I forgot to do here was to select that for all of them. So drop down, select water spawned, select water spawned, and select water spawned. Okay. Script and play. Now, interestingly, this didn't seem to scale them or move them, which is peculiar to say the least. Scale the new asset to 1.51. Absolutely peculiar. I'm unsure why this happened. So let's try a little thing here. We're going to create a new event, which will just be a delay. And so we're just going to simply delay these actions from happening by a second. Let's delay. Confirm. So I'm thinking that they might be spawning in so soon that it's not being received. So I'm just passing these parameters just a second further forward. New asset, confirm. So now that works. And then we send event with delay to self after, and we'll do just 0.5 seconds, should be more than enough. Let's see. So stop, clear, and play. So bonkers, it's not scaling it. Attributes 111. It doesn't say it's scaled. Did we do something weird here? It said 1.51. Move by. Well, we'll go ahead and debug print, make sure that these things are being received, and stop, play. Ah, that makes sense. Okay, sorry. I forgot to drag this new asset pill into the new parameter slot to make sure it would actually get sent. My bad. And go ahead and hit play. Huh. Still not. Double check. This doesn't say anything on it. Nope. We'll do that debug print again. And oh, got it. Okay, I figured it out. Sorry about that. So what's happening is this asset is animated here, but it is not animated as an asset. So if we go to this asset, bricks, pull this out, if we look at it, you'll see that the animation is not turned on. So we need to turn animation on. And then what we'll do is open this asset up, information, edit, change, select the new asset, click confirm, update. We've now updated the asset to have animation turned on. And now with animation turned on, it should function correctly. Go ahead and try that out. Script and play. Hey, look at that. There we go. Okay, so now we have water spawning exactly where we wanted it at the right scale. Maybe a little too low, but not that bad. Nice. Okay, so we're on the right track here. And so the next thing I want to do, very carefully want to do, is first of all, drag these up into here, removing this delay event, because I don't think it's necessary now that we've got that fixed. We'll try it out again. Yep, that works. Cool. And then what we want to do is spawn an additional water out. And I want to also only scale this proportionate to where it's at. So I'm trying to think how we prevent this from spawning at the current position. So if we do, like, there's a lot of manual ways to do this. I'm trying to think of the least manual ways to do this. So we create a new variable, which we're going to call water. In fact, we'll make this a vector. Why not? No, we won't make this a vector. We'll make this a number. And this will be called water thick. So this is how thick the water is. And it starts at 1 for thickness. And when this event comes through, every time this comes through, we're going to set it to be minus 0.2. So we set water thickness to be, and also welcome people. Hi, everybody. I'm just going mathematically, having a lot of fun here. So we set water thick to be minus number input 0.2. And I want to add a function here that says if the water thickness is greater than 0 or greater than 0.1 even. So grab the greater than symbol and only allow this stuff to happen when the water is super thick. So that's a funny way of saying it. When it is, we will scale the new asset and move the asset. And actually, no matter what, we're going to do this. So actually, let's set this to be greater than 0.3. And then what we do if the water thickness is greater than 0.3 is spawn new asset. Yeah, so it's going to be weird. Bear with me. And this also should only happen once per cycle. So we need to have a new loop. So this, how do we do that? Because this is per side. So I guess we actually use the distance. So we're not going to do set water thickness to be the distance between, got it, okay. This is some crazy math. So if we take distance 2 between the two positions, the distance is going to be 1 meter right off the bat. So then we take that 1 meter, divide it by 5, which would give us 0.2. When it is 2 meters, it returns 0.4. And then we want to subtract that. So we take water thick, subtract this value, which is the distance 2, divided by 5. And this is going to be so weird. And so 5 represents the number of reps that it can go out. So it's going to be like 5 blocks is the idea. So take the distance from the position of, okay, where's distance 2? There it is. Okay, so distance to position of self to position of new asset, which will give us that value for water thickness. And then that's what we're going to scale it to. So this one we're using 1.5. We're going to actually use new vector from XYZ, putting the water thickness in the Y and putting a 1 and a 1 in the X slots. So I'm going to go change this to be 1. Excuse me. And 1 and 1. And so that will get our scale. The movement is down by 0.25, which was because it was using half. And so we want to move it down by half of what. So this will also be a new vector, but we want to move it down by this water thickness difference. Nolan, what are you doing over there? Sorry, my cat. You being okay? He seems like he's okay. It's like, don't tear at the window, please. Move new asset by 1. And then the difference between, so we take 1 minus water thickness divided by 2. And then that has, yeah, that should work. So 1 minus water thickness divided by 2. The last step is to divide by 2. And then we need to take the minus symbol, take 1, subtract water thickness, which gives us the difference, which is 0.2, divide that by 2, and that's how much we need to move down by. Cool, that should work, except it's not negative. This is moving it by a positive value at this point. So if we reverse water thickness, and we take water thickness minus 1, so we delete 1, move water thickness to the left, then put this over here. There we go, now that works. Okay, so with that all set up, we can then say, if the water thickness is greater than 0.3, we want to spawn an asset water, which is going to be very different than before. And so what we're going to do is spawn it 1 meter in the direction that we are from the original water. So to do that, the last step is to multiply by 1. We also need to, well, let's start by getting the 1 in there. So this makes it 1 meter to the right or left or whichever direction it is. And then we need to find the direction, which we can do, but first we need to throw a normalize in, which makes it down to 1 meter. Which actually, sorry, I need another step in here. So many steps. You got to think about it in reverse, which is pretty difficult. So the last step is to add this to the current position, which is position of self. So we take the position of self, we're add to it the direction, which if we normalize, we don't actually need to multiply it by 1. We can just use normalize for that. Perfect. And then the last thing we need to do is use the subtract symbol to get the position of self or position of new asset. I'm not sure which one goes on the right or the left. We'll try it this way and then reverse it later. Okay, so now this will spawn a new asset, rotation of self, and then it's going to keep spawning this. It's going to be bonkers. Okay, so script and play. Whoa. Well, it's not perfect by any means, but there's more than one object out there. Okay, and stop. So let's try and understand what just happened. So it started by spawning the first one. Water thickness needs to, I did it wrong, got it. Okay, I figured out what the difference was. Okay, and play. Interesting. So it's ending up in those 4 spots, which are not where I would expect it to end up. Stop and clear. And it keeps going for some reason because the distance doesn't seem to get far enough away, which is bizarre. So set water thickness to 1 minus distance of, I'm sure there's some small mistake in here, but I'm like not patient enough to read through every line. I wanted to start by just switching these around because this is usually what I do wrong, is I do this one backwards. So I want to just try switching that and see if that fixes it, but I don't think it will. No, it's still doing the same thing, even with that switched. Okay, and it just goes forever until the world hits capacity. So that's also a problem. So we're taking the position of self, we're add toing it 1 meter. Oh, it's position of self, but it's supposed to be position, got it. It's supposed to be position of the new asset, got it, okay. And try that again. Ah, there we go. Okay, it's 1 meter off, but that's what we wanted to happen, right? Like there's that water mechanic. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's a meter off, but wow. I don't know why it's a meter off, but my goodness, so cool. Welcome, Pigeon. Oh, so you just found out. This is it. It's supposed to be fake water. We're basically building Minecraft style water where it stretches outward from the source and slowly it's pretty neat though, right? Like, look at this. I'm off by a hair though. I got to figure out why this is off, but darn is it close. Also, we built a volcano. We did that too. I'm going to read some of the comments. So I'm going to ignore Crow. Big Mama says, hello, and I say, hello. Call out the question and answer session so I can ask my question later. Ask right now. Feel free to, please, throughout. Oh, okay. How do I find free house assets and how do I change the background in a blank? Ah, good questions. Crow Black wants to give you a house, by the way. Jeremiah Fry says, Dice, you changed the background in the environment gizmo. Oh, got it. You're talking to D Nice. I was like, Dice. Sorry about the audio. I'm not sure if you can hear the sirens going crazy in the background. You're like, wow! Thanks, Pigeon. Let me show you how we did it. And welcome anybody else who's recently joined us. I can't believe there's 15 people here right now. So you guys feel free to comment. I can read them as we're going. If you have questions, if this is just blowing your mind. Also, my favorite thing here, though, is this. Whee! Not that. No, it's this. I love flying around on these. So earlier we were looking at trying to build a 32 player world, and I was like, look, you can have 32 broomsticks. So we can all fly around. Yeah, so those are fun. But yeah, so that's cool. Feel free to comment. All you guys, feel free to. It's totally great. Happy to have you. Also, super cool that so many of you watched both part 1 and 2 and part 1. So cool. Glad nobody said there's a part 1 because that would have been funny. So the problem we're having is that the position seems to be off when they spawn in. And so for some reason, we are moving by. For some reason, I was a smarty pants and threw a 0 or a 1 in there, and I don't know why I did that. Anyway, go ahead and hit play. It's still off because it's saying move new asset by vector down. Oh, this didn't change to 0. Okay, change that to 0. I changed the wrong one to 0. Change that back to 1. Change this to 0. There we go. Okay, and hit play. Yes! Okay, it looks like water. So my next goal was to make this grabbable so you could just place it anywhere. So basically my idea was that this would be a source block of water and you'd be like, place it down and then water would just spill out of it, which I thought would be really cool. I didn't lag there for a second. Not sure if it just spawned too many. No, it didn't spawn too many. But maybe this is more than Horizon wants to load right now. It might be hitting its buckling point. Let's see, what else we got in here? When the world has started, we set the current position to position of self. We're then spawning an asset to the north, south, east, and west, or however you want to think of these positions. We do that by getting the forward direction of self, subtracting the forward direction of self, adding the cross product in one direction, and adding the cross product in the other direction. If you're new to cross products are forward direction, cross upward direction equals left, or right, depending on which order you put them in. And because I don't remember the order, I just tell you that, and then you can try it in both ways until you get it right. So that's how I do it. And then we use the rotation as self, so it's always rotating the same orientation. And that is how that works. Then when water is spawned, we're taking the water thickness and determining the thickness based on how far away it is. And so right now we were dividing it into 5 pieces, but I'm really tempted to divide it into 10 pieces. And so if we hit play on that, we should get much crazier water. And I'd love it to spawn over here, but I'm afraid to even touch that math. Okay, so this is not 10 pieces, but it is quite a few. But yeah, so I think we actually hit capacity. Yeah, we hit capacity. That makes sense. Hello, Dion. Welcome. Hey. Big Mom Bethany asks, have you experienced any weird things happening since the last update? I mean, I usually have weird things happen in every update, so this isn't strange, but what weird things are you talking about? Okie dokie. So I think that's more or less what I wanted to do. And then basically the last thing here, Pigeon, is that we say water thickness greater than 0.3, spawn the asset water. Voila. So yeah, that's what's going on. So nice. And this is our water source block. To make it grabbable, we open this up, make it interactive, hit grabbable. We'll even give it physics because why not? And then we'll go in here, grab a cube so it actually has a collision point so you can actually grab from something. Then we're going to make this invisible. So it's going to be collidable but not visible. And then select this, zoom into the grouping, make it snapped right in the center. Center? Oh, there is no center. That works anyway. Okay, and zoom out. Now that it's inside there, it is now an actual grabbable object. So now to function this the way that we'd like it to, we're going to not do this on world start. So we were currently running this on world start, but instead we're going to do when object is released by player. We gave this physics, right? No, we don't want to give this physics. turn physics off, just grabbable. Okay, and then we're going to then say when object is released, send event to self, send event to object. We're going to call this, sure, move one, why not? And then when event move one is received, we're then going to move all of these things into here, which should allow us to run this when this is first grabbed. Now, because I want this to be something you can pick up and throw down, I'm going to say when object is grabbed by player, we're going to despawn all the other objects. So when object is grabbed by player, we then need a object list for this. Why am I developing this so much? I have no idea. Water. Some guy just was like, how do you do Minecraft like water? And I was like, let's do it. I love this stuff. It's so much fun. I really do. So then we're going to add to list right here. When the water is spawned, we need to then add it to a list of water blocks. And then when the object is picked up, we need to despawn those assets. So we say while there are items in the list. So we go while, grab the greater than symbol so that we say while there are items greater than 0, and then we grab length of list right here to find out how many items are in the water blocks list. Then what we'll do is remove item at index from list so that it gets down to 0. So we remove item 0 from the water blocks list, but before we remove it, we despawn it. So actions tab, delete spawned object, which will be get item at index 0. So get item from list at position 0 in the water blocks list. So we delete it, then we remove it from the list and play. Okay, so it doesn't work on world start, which was the intention. So I grab this wherever I want it, I let it go, and it spawns water that kind of cascades down. And then when I pick it up, it despawns them, and then I can place it down again. And because it's not like using array cast to determine the ground, it's not perfect, but I can like put it up in the air and do weird shapes like that, which is kind of cool. Also crazy. This is so crazy. Look at this. Oh my goodness. This is so crazy. So put that in the ground. Oh, and I seem to have grabbed it in a way, but while it was still spawning. So they kept spawning even though I'd grabbed it mid-spawn. But yeah, so now we have a grabbable water quote source block, and it's definitely not anywhere near complete, but pretty cool. Thanks for asking or inquiring, because I had fun building that. Jay says, I've been tuning in while at work. Thanks, Bethany. Appreciate you. Jay says, I've been tuning in at work. I tried the wheel thing and made them out of blocks. Is it possible the update has something are glitchy? No. So you might have missed this, Jay. Basically, you have to use cube objects. So I will quickly demonstrate that here. So give me a second to create an asset out of this and store this for later. So go create asset called water source. Like, there's probably a lot more I would do before releasing this as an asset. It's pretty cool, but it's not even close to done. Like, it needs to fill in the gaps, and it's also a capacity hog. So I don't know. There's definitely a different way of doing it, in my opinion. It's like, it's cool, but I think I would do the top layer of water, not the bottom layer. It'd also be nice if, anyway, there's so much you could do. Anyway, so we're going to hold off on that. So to quickly demonstrate your question, Jay. So we were talking earlier about physics objects and how they have bad collision meshes. And so in build mode, collision meshes are different than the collision meshes in play mode. And this is specifically the case with cylinders, spheres, rounded objects. Basically anything with a rounded object has a different collision mesh in build mode than it does in play mode. And so I'd encourage you, like, look at, I'm inside of it. This is so weird. And so I'd encourage you to never use a collision mesh from these, especially if you're using a physics-based. So what you'd want to do, I think the cylinder might be okay. Might be. For this object here that you want to spin around, we're going to assume that to make it spin, you grouped in some sort of like points for the players to grab onto, right? So if I wanted this to spin, I would definitely build in something like this, slide it in, duplicate, put it on both sides, and then center this object. Okay, there's in the center, and then rotate like that, almost kind of like a water wheel. Shout out Water Wheel Wonder. So these objects are collidable, right? Now you want this to spin around this, and so you would use cube colliders to make the collision mesh for this. And so you don't want them to be visible, so we're going to go turn visibility off. We also want to turn collision off on this tube, so that way it's just there for the visible portion. And then what we'll do with this is snap this to the top here, slide it out to about as much accuracy as you want, and then slide it in as well. Apologies for that glitch there. There we go. And then we're going to snap it again to this point so it's centered nicely. Pulling it out. There we go. And then I'm going to duplicate this down and make sure that it is snap aligned to this point. Now with these both selected, I can then duplicate and rotate like this. And now I have a collision mesh for this object. Now it doesn't fill in these points, but since I'm not expecting people to walk on it, I'm not concerned about that. If you are wanting people to walk on the outside, just add one of these into every single one of these, and that should do the trick. Doesn't need to be super accurate. You can kind of determine how intense you want that to be, but you could do that. Sorry, let me try that again. So duplicate from here to there, and then array tool. There we go. Okay. Now with all of that, we can then select this representing our collision mesh. Double check that I got everything. We're then going to slide this inside of here. Then we can select the rest. So this guy and all of this needs to be turned into a grouping. Okay, there we go. So go ahead and group that together. Now we'll go open this up, make sure to turn interactive physics on. Now with physics turned on, it should fall onto the cylinder. We'll go ahead and check that. So script, clear and play. Now it is on the cylinder. The problem is players don't currently collide with it. So we go to the player settings, world settings, player settings, and can hands collide with static objects. Go ahead and turn that on. And with that turned on, we can now come in here and, oh, that should have worked. Let me go find out why my hands aren't colliding. It might not have saved the property. It does seem to have saved the property. Don't know why it's not saying it didn't. Can hands collide with static objects? Oh, I guess it's not static. Can hands collide with physical objects? It is turned on, so I don't know why my hands aren't colliding with it. Collisions are on. Zoom in. Double check that these are collidable pieces. They are. You know, I don't know why my hands aren't colliding with it, but that's okay. We'll make a bat in just a second. So, yeah, that should have allowed my hands to work with it, but my head's working with it, so I can hit it with my head, which is kind of neat, I guess. Throw my head in there. Can my hands? So weird. I wonder if my hands are just too big. I don't know. So weird. But yeah, basically you get this, and then what we need to do to finish this off is put in some way to stop it. So we'll grab this. Oops. That was a little careful with those guys. Try that again. It's not coming out. There we go. Got it. If you didn't see that, there was a little piece of space junk there trying to poison our world. Oh no. So then we'll put this here to prevent it from escaping. We can either leave it on if we want it visually there, or we can turn off the visibility and just make it collidable so that it stays in place. And then slide this over. Said slide it over. That's so funny. There we go. And then the last thing we might want to do is stop our world and make this a little bit bigger. So if we open this up, we can go attributes and take this up to 2 by 2. And it's a little too big, so I'm going to go take that down to 1.7. 1.7. There we go. And then I'm also going to stretch this into here. And I'm about to die on my battery, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in real quick before I forget. There we go. So with that, I just need something to hit this with. So I'm going to make a club of some sort. This will go ahead and do. And make this visible. So visibility on. Stretch this out. Kind of like a little paddle club, I think, or an ice cream cone, depends on your taste. And then we'll make sure collidable is turned on, interactive and grabbable. We'll even give it physics, because why not? And script play. There we go. So I'm going to walk in here, grab this little club, and give this a whack. There we go. So you get this, and you know, it does a thing. It stays on, which is nice. It's not perfect. The cubes are going to definitely make it slow down a lot faster, so that might be problematic. If you're looking to do some continuous rotation, I would not recommend using physics for that. I'll show you how to do continuous rotation in 2 easy steps. But what I was thinking I might try just to see what happens is if we go to physics tab and turn on super ice, does it spin smoother? That's the question. So if I grab this and whack it, it does seem to spin a little bit smoother with super ice, I think. Could be subjective too. It's kind of hard to tell. You know, if you used more segments in those invisible cube colliders, might work a little bit better too. So yeah, it's hard to say. And if it was smaller, it might work better too as well, right? So if I select this and then scale it down to something like that, and then scale this down, something a little more reasonable as well. Come on in. Let's see. Does that work? Do my hands even engage with it? My hands are still not engaging with it, which is bonkers because I turned that property on. But this does seem to be, you know, decent, does a thing. So there you have it. And then if you wanted to do continuous rotation though, I would open up the properties, head into your asset menu, and under assets in the newest pack under the community spotlight, you're going to find the fair carousel, which has the description continuous rotation. When you pull this out, it's really big and it does do continuous rotation, but it also contains a script for continuous rotation. So we'll go ahead and delete this, bring this over here, and then drop down and select continuous rotation. Now with continuous rotation on, it's not going to be super great because you need to check some boxes like has physics, make sure that's turned on. Once has physics is turned on, you'd want to adjust the physics spin. So right now it's trying to spin on an axis that it can't. So we'll go ahead and turn that to 0 and try different axes until it does work. And that seems to be the wrong axes as well. So we'll go ahead and 0 that out and try different axes. Maybe not enough force. Oh, it's trying. It is definitely trying. We'll change the rotation delay to 0.1. There we go. Okay. So, you know, messing with these properties is important. And then you get this, which because it's using physics can actually be stopped by throwing stuff into it. And so when you want continuous rotation, definitely check that out. And then theoretically, this is pretty intense, by the way. It's kind of funny how fast it is. I'd probably go set this to be 0.2. Hi, baby girl. Yeah, I'm live streaming. You want to say hi to the fans? Oh. And she's gone. So if I grab these 3, I'm going to duplicate and slide this over. And then I'm actually going to try something a little crazy. Open the properties panel of this, remove the continuous rotation script. So there's no rotation script on this. Then rotate this just a little bit. And I think I need to slide these over just a hair. So they're just barely touching. And let's see if this allows it to kick it. Is that working like a gear? Almost, not really. What if I change the speed up to 0.1? Oh, no, it's still not hitting. Oh, but when it does, Hmm. 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 Okay, so if I slide this in, keep it really locked in place so it can't move out of place, and then do the same thing with these guys. Slide this over to here, slide this over to here. And just remember, physics interactions can really eat up your world's capacity and with complexity, but that is quite neat. And so you could imagine making this ring here be one that players have to place on this pedestal, and then it gets the momentum from this, physical gear. And then this maybe connects to something else down the line that causes, something else to move. Oh, it's quite fun. Okay, what do you guys think about that? That was pretty neat, huh? Okay. Bethany says, I pull out assets from my library and pieces are missing. Actually, items that I had before are missing from the library. Myself and one other person that I know have been sitting in quiet world and pushed off the edge for no reason. That is so weird. I don't know why you'd get pushed off the edge other than potentially controller drift. So that's where your controller has a little bit of grease. Like sometimes if I'm eating food, I accidentally get grease on my controller and then I start sliding over. There's this contact cleaner for electric stuff that I use and it cleans it really nicely. Take your batteries out, obviously. Not advice. Look up how to use it correctly. I'm not an expert. But yeah, I'd love to take a look at the asset library, see if there's something missing, but there shouldn't be. Did those two. At one point was working in the world. Later next day it stopped. It moves but no longer spends. I'm not sure I fully understand the problem, Jay, but feel free to post in the Horizon Worlds group, or shout out to Waffles scripting group, the Horizon House of Waffles. Honestly, some amazing scripters in there who, if they saw your video, might be able to see it in just like a second. So if you post a video, but yeah, would love to continue looking at that, but just hard to see it without actually seeing it. But this is cool, by the way. This is pretty neat. Okay, so we're going to head into build mode. And we're going to close out of this and stop the world. Go ahead and clear. I'm going to change this script to be called Gears. And then I'm going to save this because honestly, this is really cool. I definitely want to come back and look at this in the future. Did I miss something? Let's see if I missed a piece. Stretch, start. There we go. Open up. And new asset called Gears. And create. Close and delete. What time are we locking? 4 o'clock. So this is our normal start time. Sweet. We're on time for our normal start time. Okay, so if we go to our asset library, assets, you're going to find under the community section, the community spotlight has the latest pack of Vidyuu assets in it. The previous pack that was found there is now found under game items. And if you're looking at the featured section for the mesh objects, these have a bunch of new meshes. The old meshes are likely mixed into other places. So I've found there's like the willow tree is there. Here's a bunch of them, really. There's the oak tree. And so what you want to do is use this search item, if you remember the name, and then type through all of these. So like, say I wanted the, let's see, the geometric reference, but I don't remember where it is. I can click through these. And oh, look, I found it. So using the search bar, you can click through these tags on the left to find it. Definitely not the most efficient way to find things, but it works. So not sure about some of the other stuff that you're looking for, but just kind of a few things there. Craigus Prime, welcome. I will be watching later. Boarding flight to Philippines. Have fun. Bye. It's fun. So next up, what else we got in here? So I was kind of thinking of building some sort of like time wall to show off all the times around the world. And I haven't really decided if I really want to do this. I just love having time. I think it's such a neat new thing that you just don't see in a lot of worlds yet because it's still relatively unknown. Oh, snap. You can just like do that. Ungroup. Relatively unknown it is. And we could snap that like that. And you could like, there's a lot of ways you could do this. I think I'm not going to though. As much as I love this idea, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Bye-bye. Oh, bye. He said bye too. I'm crying a little bit. Just a little. Okay. This sign looks really fancy, but I'm going to change the color scheme on it to be a more apple themed. So kind of vibrant plastic maybe. Plastic there. That looks kind of nice. And then the inside of an apple is kind of a light, right? So we'd go down here, select this unlit, and then select this. And then what I want to do is put an apple on top. Everybody's like, wait, where did apples come from? Okay, welcome everybody. Oh, sorry. Welcome everybody. Sorry, I'm still laughing. I can't believe I looked in the complete wrong direction. That was too funny. So great to have you. If you've seen Apple Clicker, it's quite fun. I encourage you to check it out. Part 2 was just posted to the channel yesterday. We also did it in a live stream. If you've seen it, definitely comment where you watched it first, how you saw it. Would love to hear more about that. But if you haven't seen it, no biggie. It's an addictive clicker we've been building on the channel. And today I thought we might start putting together an actual world that you can visit to play this game in. And so we were working on the background earlier. And right now I'm working on building the portion that looks kind of like an apple up here. And so we're going to snap this to the top, slide that in, making sure to turn off collidability. There we go. So that sort of looks like an apple. It's a little thicker than an apple should be. There we go. Try that again. Come on. There you go. And then slide that down just a hair. There we go. Okay. So this is our apple sign. And I'd like to open this up and ungroup it so that I can grab the top and bottom pieces of this and see if I can't just duplicate this down. Oh, snap, I totally can. And then what I wanted to do is try to make this look more like an apple. So maybe if I slide this over like that and then duplicate, slide this over like that, it starts to look more like an apple. Although that looks more like butt cheeks. That's not ideal. How do I make this look like an apple? Okay, delete that. Select, duplicate. Gotta just hold my breath and hope it. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Right? Somebody? Anybody? Okay, so we stretch this out to here, stretch it down to there, and no, definitely just nope. Nope. That's gone. This piece though does kind of look like an apple. And so maybe if we put it at the top like this, we can make that look like the apple portion. And then we delete this portion and stretch this down some more. Then select, scale this bigger, snap that like that. And then we'll grab these two pieces, snapping them into the bottom and then sliding them up so it looks almost like a sign. Stretch it down lower. And now we can open this welcome to sign and adjust it to say, welcome to Apple Land. Apple Land? I know I asked for ideas earlier, guys, but I really need them. Apple Land is a terrible name for a world. So really would appreciate some help. So previously we were looking at the orange vertical, the orange to red. And if we go to our asset library, under game items, you're going to find the text formatting reference. And you'll see that we are using this yellow to orange script to change the color. We can also do dark to light green. I think light to dark green might be fun. So we're going to go into here and change this to light to dark green. So I'll just go backspace. Also, if Pigeon's still here, shout out to Pigeon, who was the original finder of all of this information. Light to dark green space. There we go. Apple Land. Oh, that even looks like an, ooh, That's good. We're on to something, guys. Okay, stretch this out and okay, there we go. More like that, and center that again. Sorry for the flicker. There we go. Welcome to Apple Land. Apple Bop. Apple Bop. I'm gonna keep thinking about it. Not sure I'm on with the bop. I'm not bopping with it yet. Apple. And maybe this is a really terrible idea. Also, new feature I recently learned about, this arrow here allows you to cycle to the left. Kind of nice. So what if it just says, welcome, Apple? And then it puts an exclamation point, and it's like, you are the apple. So instead of saying welcome to, it's like, welcome, Apple. Click that apple. Okay, I might get behind one of these soon. Those are good. Oh, that's good. Welcome, Apple. And I'm going to change the font size from here. A little easier to change. There we go. Oh, that didn't change the bottom one. It just changed the top one. Interesting. No, it's fine. Welcome, Apple. Pigeon says, thanks for the shout out. Love listening to these while building. I'm still here. Great to have you. Thanks for staying around, Pigeon. And seriously can't thank you enough. Tap. Okay, we're gonna back away from that one. Back away. Pretty much everything on these 2 pages was found by Pigeon. So when you pull this out of your asset library, huge shout out to Pigeon number 12 for finding all of this information. I mean, look at this electric highway font. I mean, look at all these fonts. Like the fact that we even have fonts and gradients is insane. So cannot thank her enough. Going to delete this for now. Now that we have our cool sign built, we need to... Hi, Pips. Yeah? No, we're not going on my lap right now. Yeah, you can go down. Good girl. Okay, so we're going to select these and make all of this non-collidable. So just theoretically, don't walk into the pole. Whatever you do, just don't walk into it. Okay, and then we want to group it together. Done. The person has arrived, and they're welcomed with welcome apple. Something's wrong with this place. Don't come here. If you walk into a place that says welcome and they're calling you a fruit, they might be wanting to eat you. So please be warned, beware of this apple. Okay, there is our apple sign. We're walking in, and oh, try again. Welcome, apple. That's kind of nice. It's big. It's definitely a big sign, maybe a little too big. Try that size. Scale that down, snap it to the player, slide it forward. Player ID icon, I should say. Slide that down. Player ID, what am I even saying? Slide it forward further. Boom. Yes, there we go. Welcome, apple. Oh, there should be a crunchy bite taken out of it. Okay, that's a good idea. Meta apples. I like it. Okay, I actually really like that one too. You should do physics tutorials for the upcoming builder competition. There's a new competition coming? I wasn't aware of this. Or maybe you mean for the next one. As long as you don't call it iWorld with the I think that Apple World is okay. Oh, I. Oh, with the lowercase I. That's funny. Fruit juice. When I was a kid, I went to an Apple stand and I was disappointed they didn't sell any electronics. They just sold apples. So, the confusion it's real. So, not trying to confuse anybody here. We definitely want the people to know that this is an apple you can eat. So, we're going to do something I told you not to do earlier, which was to use this shape or... Man, I cannot get these shapes to come out at the right size. There it is. Okay, so this shape or... Where'd it go? There it is, this shape. So these 2 shapes could be used to make it look like it's got a bite taken out of it. Could also use this one. Debating this one, but blend it over like that. Like you could do that. No, it's not perfect yet. But watch this. Sorry, I just love Google. His videos are so funny. Okay, so like this could be on the right track. It's kind of got a neat aesthetic. And then we grab the red so it starts to blend together. Oh, you just like, you chomped out the name. And definitely don't know how I feel about that. You know, I'm not sure how I feel. It kind of looks like an alien. It doesn't look great. Apples. Welcome apples. Ooh, I kind of like welcome apples. That's a good idea. Okay. There we go. There's just like giant chomps. And you're like, what does it even say? Okay. You know what? I don't like it at all. Undo, 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 undo. Delete, 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 delete. Was gonna say we could do something like this with that kind of stretched out like that maybe. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove, ooh, wait a second. Might be feeling this. I almost like that. I really don't, but I almost do. So I'm going to delete it. But, you know, we got the sign. The sign's done. That looks like something else. Thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know if that was a compliment or not, but I'm going to pretend it was. We're also going to put down some little trees. These are really expensive geometrically. And if we look at our capacity, we're definitely reaching capacity. So, oh, maybe not. We're actually doing okay. So we'll be careful with these though, but these look really cool. And we could duplicate it even and then rotate it and kind of start to make it look like, you know, hedges, hedge bush tree thing. And then we have a few more up here that are pretty nice. So we could grab some of these and do the same thing with them. Stretch that like that. I kind of want them all to be the same color. And then once you get past this, the idea is that the view is over here. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees so it looks different. Slide that over a little more. Oh yeah, those are kind of neat. How'd our capacity go up though? 74% versus, if I delete them, 73%. So it's currently 1%. That's not too bad. Now we do have these bushes over here. I'm going to save these for later. It's kind of a nice idea. But for now, this is the load-in area. And I don't want people to think there's anything else here. So I'm going to start by selecting this, select these, select that, and slide back. Okay. So this is the first part of this apple farm. Now we definitely want there to be something over here. I just don't know what. I mean, we could do some of these bushes. So it looks like, you know, there's something. Put some like large bushes. Something that tells people don't go this way. There's the lava. Maybe that's why they don't go this way. They're like, there's a mountain. We don't go towards mountains. Actually, keep that one over here for now. For now. Fruit Boops. You guys are coming up with some good names. This is good. Okay, so I've walked in. Welcome apple. And then this reveals an apple orchard is the idea. So we want there to be an apple orchard. Now the cheapest apple orchard trees are going to look like this. Having trouble getting these to come out without them being super small. And if you let go of them, you'll just have tiny objects all around your world. So don't let go. Pull down to delete. So there we go. Nice. Definitely on track here for some nice apple trees. Okay. Super basic, I know. But thank you. Appreciate that. That was a compliment. Appreciate it. I'm going to slide over, grab some browns. That. Yep, that's where that. There we go. Nice apple orchard. Definitely using these new shapes could look a lot better. And if they're not super expensive, it might be better to use that. Like, I kind of want to just keep them gray boxed for now while we're thinking about this idea of having apple trees. Also, rotate them so that they're nicely oriented. And then I wanted to slide a few over. Array tool, array tool, array tool. Why are they off center? I don't know. You're the one who's the apple. Okay, we're gonna slide this over and then duplicate, slide over here, and then array tool and array tool. So now when you arrive, see, that looks kind of nice because they're in order, but they're also not in order. Like, that's why I did it. That's why I did it that way. Why were you wondering? Accidental accidents. Oh my gosh, my hand just like vibrated really intensely. Also, hi everybody who's just joined. If you're wondering what's going on and what the poll's about, the poll is for the Apple Clicker video. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and vote for that. If you have seen it, let us know which parts you've watched and which ones you haven't. And basically, we're trying to build a world to... And I'm in my safe space. Hopefully you can still hear me. Okay. And we're trying to build a world where you can play this game. So that's the idea. And working to figure out what this space is going to look like. I really enjoy the idea of having these broomsticks around because they are, when the world is started, so much fun. And they're also really low capacity because they are running one at a time. So everybody can fly around on this broomstick. Now you're going to probably want to go up to this lava pool, which wasn't the intention. It was supposed to be like, no, don't go there. But I feel like people are going to want to go there. They're going to see this and be like, wait, why can't I go there? So it's a cool lava pool, though. I think the one change I'd want to make would be sliding this upwards more and sliding these downwards more. But I think I'm going to do it just by doing that. So like that, I think looks nice. And then... because I was like looking at it from a distance and I didn't like that you couldn't see the rounding on this edge. It was cut off hard. I didn't like the way that looked, so I think that looks nice like that. Okay, and select and scale. There we go. Just as planned. Yes, that's right, Pigeon. I'm so glad you noticed. I was following the plan to a T. Oh, I forgot we had this geometric complexity scale up here. This thing's fantastic, guys. It is so useful. It tells you what you need and what you don't need. We can always pull it out of our asset library from the games section. Now, these fancy things over here, they're called broomsticks. These need a place to go that isn't here. And it needs to look ordered. Like, I want to have 32 people in. Oh, that's what we can do over here. I was trying to figure out what to do with this space. So maybe it's an Easter egg. So once you realize that you don't have to go forward and you can go backward, you look back here and you realize there's a whole, like, house thing. This kind of makes sense to me. So we'll grab this, stretch, grab that, stretch, snap, duplicate, and... duplicate, nice. Grab this, stretch, grab this, slide, snap, snap. There we go. And then we now have the basis of like a barn area. And then what we'll do with this is also kind of slide this down almost, so it looks like it's got a little bit of an awning almost. And then these are a little thick boy. There we go. Delete that, slide this over, duplicate, slide, and snap. There we go. Looks good. And then this could use a little bit outward, which also could be done to the roof for that. Now we do have a little bit of Z-ripping there, so we're going to want to fix that. But now we're starting to get a nice little like roof, but the thickness should be closer to this thickness. So the easiest way to do that is just to delete, and try again. So I'm going to go ahead and take the back wall. There we go. And then grab this, duplicate to there, slide over. There we go. And then slide that right there, like that, cut it in half. And now we can stretch both of these at the same time over to right about there. Then coming back, we'll snap these into the center right there, ignoring that they're completely off at this point. But we'll select this, snap that down onto this spot, and then just manually do this one again. There we go. So now we got a little kind of outdoor shed area. The Z-ripping doesn't seem to be visible yet. We'll try and use a... There's a way to fix this. So like what's happening, right? If you look here, is that they're overlapping. And the way to fix this is you select this, and we're going to determine a color to be away from the apple red color, more towards the brown wood tones. And once we get our wood tone that we like for this, we can then choose solid is fine, turn down the reflectiveness, choose the wood grain. And if you change this to not be aligned to the object and turn this off, it aligns it to the world. And so now you can see the Z-ripping, but then when we snap it, they blend together, and they should theoretically blend perfectly because they're using the same texture. Problem is, it doesn't do it fast enough, so at a distance it can be flickery, but it seems to be okay. So we'll go ahead and leave that for now. And then for these walls, we could use the same texture, but I think I want to do a slightly different wood, almost a little bit more red. Yeah, that's kind of nice. So it looks like we use two different types of Minecraft wood. I know, but the blocks are smaller, so it's cuter, right? Next up, we want to then put all of these on display. So we have 20 of them. Also, what you are building in like less than 3 minutes took me literally 2 hours to figure out. Oh, I'm sorry. But I hope this helps. If you have questions about how I'm doing it, definitely just ask, and I'd be happy to share some tips if you're not catching them as we go. So the next thing we want to do is make 20 mounts for each of these. And so these broomsticks can actually be gotten from the asset light, that's not a word, community spotlight section. You're going to find the flying broomstick right there, and you can pull it out. It is fantastic. You do have to go to your world player settings and turn on custom player movement for it to work. But once you have them, they're fantastic. We're going to build these mounts to be much like a witch mount. There's a object here somewhere. I'm going to pull down to delete. So that's that space chunk I was telling you about. And it keeps coming out really small. Let's turn snapping off and try again. Oh, there it is. Okay. So then we're going to scale this down to like there. And then we want this to be a metal tone. So go to metal, choose a nice silver, make it really metal. It's not bad. I'd maybe go a little bit lighter, less metal tone. And then for the texture, we're going to choose this one. Yeah, there we go. Little divots. Make sure that's aligned to the world, actually. Yes, it is. Perfect. So we need 20 of these on our wall. That's going to be a ridiculous request, but we're going to try it out. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I don't know how many this is. But now that we have them, selecting them all, we'll then center them right here. And I'm not sure exactly how to hang these up on the wall. Like how do you hang your broom up at home? I don't. Sorry, I don't have an answer to that question. But we're gonna grab our broom and try snapping it right here. Slide this up, and then that kind of looks cool. You might be like, what am I supposed to do with this? Then you grab it and you're like moving it around, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I can fly. It didn't work because the world's not started, but you pull your index trigger to fly. And I kind of think that's cool. Let's see how many of these there are. Script, play world, or excuse me, stop. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, we're just one off. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, this is perfect. Also, World of Jesus, you don't happen to be our friend with the $100 ring, are you? I know that sounds so weird out of context. I'm just trying to figure out. I forgot. Oh, your name is like on the tip of my tongue. But definitely let us know if you're the same guy I'm thinking of. And if that sounds super weird and you're like, what are you talking about? Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this to here. And then Nova, right? Is it Nova? Dude, are you the same person I'm thinking? Let us know. Okay, so I'm sliding this out for a minute, and then I'm going to select all of these, not worrying about the background being selected because I can deselect it, and then we're going to center that again, which was right here, sliding it up, And now we have 20 on this wall, which is fantastic. And then snapping here, we're going to slide up, slide over. Now the trick and the hard part is getting these to be even. Now normally this wouldn't be so hard, but because of Horizon's plethora of bugs, I've been having so much trouble. So theoretically what should be possible is I select this, grab my duplicate tool, snapping turned on, duplicate from here, snap to there. Now it's perfectly centered. Then I can array a copy. Unfortunately, array's been broken recently, and so it doesn't actually array, which unfortunately means I need to do them all manually, which is pretty rough if I'm being honest. So give me 1 second here, because I think I might be able to do 2 at a time. So duplicate 2, duplicate slide, and snap to there. And then I guess we can do 4. So we'll do this again. So slide this out, select 4, duplicate, slide and snap, and then slide this over. Yeah, this is working great actually. Okay, this is not the way it should be. It should be so much easier than this, but I'm sure for most of you this looks really easy. So duplicate, snap, and then we just have 3 more? That doesn't seem right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh my gosh, I'm still 1 off. How did that happen? Okay, let's try this again. Duplicate, array, delete, select. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to stretch the building. I'm going to stretch the building. That's what we're going to do. I don't need, it's like the building's getting bigger. Okay, so we need 4 more of these, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the last set and select 1, 2, 3, and 4, duplicate, snapping it to right there. Perfect. There's our 20. Now what we can do is select all of these, determine where do I want this to be? I'm thinking actually more like that. So selecting all of this, deselect the background, and then snap these right to there. So now they're centered. The backs aren't connected anymore, so I'll just put that in until it's connected, which is right about there. And with that, I can then snap slide this into place. Excuse me, the other side. Getting some weird lag all of a sudden. Not sure if it's on my end, but if you're experiencing it too, apologies. There we go. Looks good. Looks good. Literally thinking of getting an Aurora ring, but no, not me. Oh, no worries. That's funny. Yeah, there's a guy, and he said something really funny in one of our videos a long time ago, and it was great. Okay, so we've got our broomstick set up here, and now we can invite 20. I should have had 32. What was I thinking? This is only 20. We have a world set to 32 players. Okay, realistically, 32 is a little unreasonable. I mean, we could pull it off. Oh, don't tempt me like this. Should I show you how to make the first 32 player minigame world? Yes, I guess I should. It's my responsibility to the community. So we have 20 here, which means we need 12 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, something like that. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So deselect all of that. There we go. So there's 12. Slide them out. We want to slide these over. And the goal is to snap these to the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess the center would be here, right? Something like snap. There's the center. Okay. So then we'll slide these down, which lines them up perfectly, which is a problem because we want these to be off center by 1/2 and then up and then in like that. Someone be like, why you got so many broomsticks, bro? Also, hi Jennifer, and shout out Big Mama. Woo. Bethany, I'm not sure. I know she goes by something else. You gotta remind me, Bethany, what do you go by? Is it Beth? Oh my goodness. Okay, so Yeah, that's a lot of broomsticks, but I've got an idea to make this more centered because it's a little bit off. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 over here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I select this, does this actually make it centered? I don't think this does. Slide this up. Slide that over. Now it's got 3 and 4. There's no way to center these in a way. There's 32. So 32, if it was 11 and 22 would make sense, but that doesn't work. Not sure how to get those to be exactly right. Okay. Oh man, I don't know what to do. There's definitely 32 here though. I'm like, maybe I should hide one. Like, because that looks perfect. I mean, that there is it, right? So this is the outlier. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So this guy is going to be the weird funky one that somebody thought would look good on this wall. And everybody's like, why did you put it on that wall? And the reality is we just ran out of space on this wall. So real question, why do you got 32? So if you just joined us and you don't understand why we have 32 broomsticks on our wall, I will show you. The idea here is we have these for a little mini game where you race around on your broomstick. And as you can see, I can fly pretty well. It's a lot of fun. Absolutely. So much fun. Hi! There's our little pigeon. And yeah, this is pretty cool. So there's a good reason to have so many broomsticks, and then they snap into place when you let them go. So don't let them go. What is your idea? Please share. Welcome, Apple. I think, yeah, we're going to leave that as welcome, Apple, for now. So this was nice because it had this kind of shape I thought was kind of cool. Put 1 on each side. It's a great... Okay, honestly, that will look a lot better. The problem is it's 33. Do I really want 33 of these? You can only have 32 players in a world. What am I going to do with 33 broomsticks? There's 1 extra. I thought about just deleting the extra one and saying 1 person doesn't get to have a broomstick. But what about if there really is 32 people trying to have a race on their broomsticks? Also, what happens if 32 people are using it because it's running on update, which happens 60 times per second, and it's running on the server. So it's like really, really insane. So I'm a little concerned, if I'm being perfectly honest. Oh, but that does look really good. Okay, so now that our broom game is next level, let's consider our background again, because this needs some attention. Now, I am working on some backgrounds. Some of you have already got access to this. They are called clouds. And some of my favorite clouds were designed by Victor Riddle, and we've called them fresh clouds. And these are in the Vidyuu asset pack. And you can just kind of put these in your world wherever you want them. They're quite nice. You can put them here, you can put them there. And they don't have to be super crazy perfect, but they are definitely a great way to spice your world up. And there we go. Nice. Look at that. Already adding life to the world. It feels a little bit more cartoon aesthetic, which is good. The trees out here, just to be desired, not really super great. So we can fix these trees very easily by doing one super simple trick. Opening up the properties panel of all of them at the exact same time under the attributes tab, we'll see that we can adjust the scale of all these down to 0.7. And we'll do that on this side as well, 0.7. And that's not bad, but we'll do it one more time, 0.7. There we go. And they've all stayed in their relative positions, which is nice. There we go. And now when we walk in, they look a little more like apple trees. A little small, but they're there. Also, there's a microphone here. And then the 30 is split in 15. Put 1 on each side. Did you take down your world of the different shapes and objects you recently had? That world doesn't really exist. So I assume you're talking about Bum, 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 bum. The meshes one. So this is all of the mesh assets that we got from the first pack. Now there is a second pack of mesh assets. So these are becoming quickly outdated because there's so many new ones and these barely fit in one world by themselves. There is a guy who made a world and he was giving it out. I don't remember who it was specifically, but they beat us to it and I was having trouble. Like I literally tried to get these out to everybody, but the world would not allow me to share it. Anyway, Horizon bugs aside. Oh no, I just crashed. You should be able to still hear me though. Yes, you can. So Horizon bugs aside, I just couldn't get it out. And so the current way to get it is via that one guy who did share them. And that's more or less the whole story. Horizon Worlds reopening. Not sure why we crashed, but that's okay. So, update if you've just joined us. In fact, I haven't even said this at all today. Horizon Live is in an hour and 20 minutes. So look forward to that. That'll be on the Vidyuu Nights channel. Oculus does his Horizon Live talks there every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific. That is 9 p.m. Eastern. I do this live stream every week beforehand. Last week was a little early. This week was a little early, but we're going through the time, so not bad at all. And reading your message, Wolf Matt. That might be the person. I'm not sure. Let's see. If I go to People tab, I need to move this over. Search for WOLF Wolf Matt. Does that pull up worlds? No. People tab. Search WOLFMATT. Nothing. Oh, no, there it is. Wolfmatic. View profile. Creations. No published worlds. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who made that world though. But yeah, there is somebody who's giving it out, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I tried to give it out, but the worlds weren't working. Kawaii Donuts? Kawaii Donuts. That sounds amazing. Okay, back to work, you guys. Distractions. I'm getting distracted. But we'll continue back on our Apple Clicker world, which currently looks nothing like an Apple game. It looks very different. Yes, definitely. I don't remember who did it. I just know it was on Facebook on the community group. Okay, so you load in here. The trees look nice. The trees look meh. Definitely worth coming back to. And the game mechanics are in place. We have the flying, which for some reason, all I really want to do is add some flying mechanics. It says we're over capacity though. I deleted those. Oh, the meshes didn't delete. That's what caused the thing to break. Oh, meshes. Mesh objects, you guys. Be careful with these. Boom. Pretty intense things, like really intense. I made an asset because I thought it would be easy. Don't make an asset out of it. Oh no, I crashed again. Oh no. Oh, I didn't expect that to happen. Matt Houts. Awesome. Thanks, Bethany. Appreciate you. And Purple Wren. That's awesome. Huge fans. Those are awesome people. Okay, so if I can't delete the meshes, I might need to delete them one at a time. Somebody did comment for there's a part 1. I appreciate you. That's so good. Oh, that's so good. So like they came out quite a bit apart, so that's funny. I don't know if you're serious or just being funny, but I like that you voted for it. Search for the world mesh. Hey, and we're back. And the assets, did they even get close to getting deleted? No. So we'll try this in small portions. Yo, that's working. Okay. So just do small segments of these at a time. Like they look really cool, but they're so geometrically complex depending on which one you're looking at. I think like that one tree, the oak tree, is something like 3% geometric complexity as one object, and it's so funny. It's like, can you imagine building your first world and being like, yeah, I just want to put some oak trees around? Like, I would totally do that. Let's see. Assets. You go down to the home pack and then grabbing. Oh gosh, my menu is like literally. There it is. Oak tree. So you pull out this oak tree and you're like, yep, I could have a few of these around. These are super nice. I can't even see this one. It's so. There we go. Can I see it now? You guys can't see this, right? Like, I'm not bonkers. There's just nothing there. Meshes. Am I right? Oh, there it is. Oh, look at there they are. Okay. You know, like you can imagine being somebody who is like, yeah, these will make great decorations on the outside of my property, and I just want to have like 3 of them. And then you're like, wait, where did all my capacity go? Because like if we go to our world capacity meter, we're at 87% with those 3 when we were at 74 before. So it's like 87, delete 1, and it goes down to 84. So that is 3%. Delete another, and it goes down to 80. So that was 4%. So it's like 3.5%. Yeah, somewhere between 3 and 4%. Crazy. Also, looks like there's some objects here I need to delete. Okay. Oh yeah, some of these mesh objects got strewn around here when I was pulling them out earlier. Definitely some bugs. There we go. Might have to go around looking for those later. Okay. So let's see. What else do we got here? I'm kind of worried that there's more mesh objects hiding around, but I think we're okay. I did kind of want to take this and push this inward. So if I select the ground, then select all of this, then deselect the ground, I can now slide it relative to that axis, because I figure people would want to come and see the lava flow up close. And then what I wanted to do with that was make it so that, let me go grab a broomstick, because that's the fastest way to travel in this neighborhood. All right, and whee! Make sure we can get up here. Yes, we can. Very nice. So, oh, and I forgot. It's non-collidable because I didn't want people to go out here. That's funny. Yeah, remember when you said nobody's coming out here? Collidable off. Okay, try that again. And we'll see how that feels. The cubes, I'm not super worried about being collidable. It's just the rounded objects right here that I don't want to be collidable. The cubes aren't super bad though. So now I've reached the edge of this area. But yeah, if we consider that's mostly aesthetics, that's probably an acceptable. What I want to do is put in some rings that when you go through the ring, like spawn at a different spot, and then you get a point. And then there's like a leaderboard for counting the amount of rings you've been through, something relatively simple to set up. So I was going to do a ring shape, which is easiest to build out of these guys. So we're going to stretch that out. Come here, duplicate. Way more detailed than it should be, but that's fine. Did I? No. Okay. And then what we want to do is also go grab a visual effects, because I think these add just a really nice, we'll make them looping, and then do magic collapsing. No, more like magic build up, right? And then we stretch this out and snap this right in the center like that. So this is your goal, is to get here. So I'm going to select all of these, group it together, and then select this and snap it in the center of it. And then scale it down just a little bit. There we go. Now open this up. select this, deselect the ring, and then we can zoom in, leaving this effect inside. There it is, and zoom in, let go, and zoom out. So now we can place these rings around, and what we want them to do is kind of spawn around randomly. They're definitely big enough for you to fly through pretty easily. So what I want to do first and foremost, just kind of see what would it look like if I place these out here like that. And something like that I think would be nice. And so with those, let's go try them out. Grab this and fly. Okay, here we go. First ring coming in. This is pretty good size. It could be smaller. I want boost. Like I really want a boost button on my thing so I can like fly through once I get lined up. Like I can line up, then boost. Yeah, so we need to adjust our script too. So let's go first start by getting the flying mechanic to be super duper fun. So stop, clear, and scroll down into here. I swear we're working on Apple Click. We're not. I don't know if we're going to or not. Okay, so right now we have velocity being applied here by the speed multiplier. And so what we can do is change the speed multiplier. So speed multiplier is currently 15. And so what we're going to do is say when button 1 is the bottom button and 2 is the top one. So bottom 1, and did that not drag over? Try again. When button 1 is pressed, when button 2 is pressed, and then when button 2 is released, and button 1 is released. So I've organized these based on the orientation on my controller. So button 2 is the top button and button 1 is the bottom button. And then it's pressed, it's released, it's pressed, and it's released. And so when it's released, I want to set the value back to 15. So speed multiplier will be returned to the value of 15. And the bottom button I want to be a slowdown, and the top button I want to be a speed up. So set speed multiplier to 15, and then we're going to do that in here as well, and then duplicate and duplicate. And so when you press it on that, it'll drop to 5, and when you press this one, it'll jump to 45. So that should be like a ridiculous speed boost. So let's try it out. Here we go. So press index trigger, press speed boost. Woo! Oh, that was really fast. Nice. So definitely, you don't just press it as long as you want it. And then if you want to slow down, really slows you down. And then slow down and speed up. And then slow down and then speed up. And then, oh man, the speed is so fun. I love speed. Speed. Whew, slow down and speed up. Okay, pretty good mechanic. And yeah, so that's how we augment that on the simple broomstick. Although I don't think it's a simple broomstick anymore. It is a broomstick. It is a full-fledged flying broomstick. That is flying broomstick, all right. Now, with that created, the next step is to add some points. And so the idea is that you're going to be building, your auto-clicking pigeon bird over here. And so each of these rings is going to give you bonus apples. That's the idea. So it will tie into the game mechanic. So we're going to go through and say gizmo, trigger, script, and we want to do clear stop world for now. Player settings, create a new player variable called apples. There we go. And so now that we have a player variable called apples, we're also create a new leaderboard variable called apples. And then when this trigger is entered, it's going to increase the player's apples. So we're going to create a new number variable called current apples. See, we're finally coming full circle. It's all coming back to that poll that you all been voting in. So thanks for voting in the poll. Where is everybody? Oh, you guys are over here. Hi again. Appreciate y'all. And it's been a lot of fun watching those 31 votes come in over the last few hours. But so I appreciate it. If you haven't voted, feel free to continue voting. That's pretty cool, honestly. 31 people. Wow. So what we're going to do is say when the trigger is entered, we're going to update. So these are going to be called rings. And when ring trigger. Okay, so this is the ring trigger. And then what we want to do is say when the trigger is entered, oh, it's got to play a sound. Oh, you know it's got to play a sound. If you've watched any of the Apple Clicker videos, you know we need a sound effects for sure. And we will worry less about the visual effects since there's already one there. But then what we need is... Oh, that's an interesting idea. Okay, we'll come back to that. But we're going to start by setting the current apples. Right, grab when trigger is entered by player. There it is. Then we're going to set the current apples to their get player persistent variable apples. So we get their current value of apples for the player who entered the trigger. And then we can set current apples to be plus 100. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a plus 100, set current apples to current apples plus 100. There we go. Now to simplify this, I can actually just drag this pill down here where current apples is. So we get their current value and add 100 to it. And now that we set their current apples, we can then set the world leaderboard score and the player persistent variable. We're going to force the score to get higher, dropping the player pill into both of these slots, setting current score into the 0 slots for both of these, dropping down and selecting apples on both of these. And like that, they have increased their apples. We'll then go to our actions tab and play a sound effect on this sound effect. And I think that is kind of the basis of this one for now. So let's try it out just to make sure it's functional. We're going to attach the ring trigger script here. Ring trigger. And then we need a sound effect. So objects tab sound, and we want a when. Twinkle might be nice. Twinkle it is. Okay. So we're going to play the twinkle with a little bit of bass and turn up the distance. You can really hear it even if you're flying fast. And play. Oh no, it needs higher. That's nice. Oh, that's so good. Okay, we got our twinkle in there, and we're going to set this to be a partner of this guy. So these guys work together. Now with this, we're going to select it, group it together for now. We'll fix that later, but for now, just for ease of use, we're going to group these. We need to scale them to fill this entire ring. Like that. Duplicate, and then just place one of these in each of these. So duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. Okay. Oh, there's one more left, and this isn't perfectly centered, so I'm just going to recenter that one. Yeah, so the biggest bug that I've been seeing for a while now is that when I duplicate, it kind of offsets that. So this is my first time tuning in, really trying to learn more about building, and I feel like I've learned so much. Oh, well, thanks so much for tuning in and learning. And if you have questions, you're always welcome to ask. We've got so many tutorials, and we love making more content. It's really quite a blessing to be able to do this for the community. And while I don't get paid for these live streams, I truly need it. It's enjoyable to get to hang out with you guys, learn new stuff myself. So I just got the point. You can hear the ding going through. I can't, you guys can see it, but I can't. And there we go. Woo! Woo! There we go. Nice. Oh, so good. So I just got like hundreds of points for that. And so we need to make it more difficult first and foremost. But we can check our leaderboard by pulling one out. So we're going to go and grab our gizmo for the leaderboard. And we'll stretch this out nice and big. Opening it up, we can give it a proper name like apples picked, apples. And I think we'll call it your apples. There we go. Your apples. Set it to 10. And we're also going to set it to be apples. We'll make this one billboard so it always points towards the users. And we'll point it right about there. So now when I come in, and if I did come back here, I would see that I have 600 apples, which I got because I went through 6 rings. So that's working pretty well. And the next thing we want to do is implement this into our apple clicker game. And I know this isn't fully worked out yet. Definitely a lot more work to do. I'm not sure we're going to do any more work on it today, but if you haven't seen this video, you can check out part 1 and 2. They're on the channel. Super duper cool. We do need to add some variables in here that we're missing, right? Like apples clicked is actually apples. So I can go swap all the A clicked with apples. Set apples clicked. And that was the only leaderboard we had. So I can just select those. So that has fixed this script, but we need the up by per click player persistent variable. So if these don't make sense, I apologize, but they are all in that tutorial I just mentioned. Up by per click, but you'll see how cool this is. It's super addicting. So theoretically, if I spelled that right, it's there, perfect. So that's fixed that one. Now this apple trigger needs to select apples, get user persistent variable up by per click, so that's good. Select apples, and there we go. Now this bird head is going to need a couple updates too. So it gets apples and we need a user persistent variable for bird speed. So we'll go create a new variable called bird speed. There we go. There's bird speed. Now that should connect into this one because it has the same name. We'll type in apples, select apples, select apples. Bird speed's already in there, so everything looks good. And all of those are good. So I think this script is set up and should be working now. And this billboard should actually be deleted and replaced with this one because these are basically the same. They're just displaying your current score. So there's a lot more work I'd like to do with this thing visually, but if we go over to here, let me see, there we go. We can see that if I click this, I get 1 apple. So this is the slow way to get apples, but it does get apples. Over here, I can buy more apples per click. So now I'm at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can't go any higher than 7. And so I can now click to get higher. And it's going up quite a bit faster. There's a little bit of bugging out because my hands are colliding with these objects because they're static objects. But now that I have 200, I can then upgrade it a couple more times, maybe. And then what I'd recommend doing if you were in the early stages and you knew about it would be grab one of these broomsticks, fly through there, fly through there. We need 10 of these, so there we go. Woo. Yeah, I'm good. Oh, I can't see. There's the chat box is in front of me. Okay, I'm pretty close. The goal here is that we get 10 of these rings. So I think that's 10. Let's go fly on back. Woo. All right. So I've arrived here and I actually spent it. And now our bird head isn't working exactly right because it was oriented in a different orientation, but it is working. And so this bird is actually purchasing these apples for us, which is pretty cool. So now to fix the bird head's rotation, what we really wanted to do is to rotate down. And so what we did for this is we did that, and we opened up the properties and then read off the attributes tab and saw that it was at 0, 30, 30. And so then I'll hit undo, go into bird head, and then type in the correct value, which is right here, 0, 30, 30. There we go. Now script and play. And now that I have this, can I just instantly turn it back on? Doesn't look like it. So I need to get 1,000 of this. And that's why I went flying. But you can also do this. I guess this isn't that bad. Actually, wow. This is way faster than I was expecting it to be. Maybe because I'm using 2 hands? Maybe because my hands are glitching? I don't know. Definitely some like refinements needed on making this. Come on, come on. We're almost at 1,000. 800. Come on. 850. Oh, that's... You just got to try not to go super low. Okay. Got 1,000. That should speed up the bird substantially. There it goes. And so now it's going to generate a lot more for us. And like, not sure what the right way is other than doing this. And so if we come over here, we can buy upgrades, and then the bird makes us more money because we're making more money. And it's basically just clicking on our behalf, which is so addicting. Which is why I really want to make this into an actual world, because I enjoy it so much. Like, I would be in here way too long working on this. Oh, there he goes. I'm just like trying to figure out how to get it to go as fast as possible because of the hand collision element. And then the other part of it is you also want to speed up the bird because it's like... But I think the easiest method to speed up the bird is to get more money faster, so I guess I need to do this. It's definitely a weird balancing game, which is why I like clicker games so much, because I do like that. And so now that this is higher, I can get up to 1,000 really quick. Like, this could be, like, I'd just duplicate a bunch of these pedestals and people would be here all day, for sure. But I really want to refine it before publishing it. So, not sure what the changes I would make. And break. So, the cool thing, though, is now that he's going for me at a pretty reasonable rate, I can just come back every so often and upgrade my bird. And he will just keep going. So if I had other things that you can do out here, like the broomsticks, for instance, or anything else that you can imagine, now suddenly there's all this added things that you can like enjoy, or maybe there's other like Apple related activities, right? So you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is, I need to randomly place these, and I'm trying to think of the way I want to do that. Also, the slapping sound is my hands. I don't know how to describe it without it sounding terrible, but you know what I mean. It's just like, oh my goodness. Okay, that was great. Now let's go see, how's my bird doing? How you doing, birdie? Doing okay? Yeah? How you want to go faster? And now he's going faster. And so you can upgrade this up to 100 times. So if you spend 100,000 apples, you'd get the maximum speed, which is breakneck. And you can see that in Apple Clicker Part 2. Okay, so with that set up, let's work on these rings, because I think these rings could be very interesting. So if we know the center point of our world, we can then point the rings towards the center, and we group this into the ring. So open the ring up and ungroup this guy. Select these, deselect this. We're then going to zoom into the ring. And now, there we go. Deselect, zoom out. Now this is our master ring. So I'm going to go delete these other rings. These are so inferior. How dare they? And so this ring here is going to figure out where to go. And the idea is that we know when you pull out an object, that the forward direction is the Z positive. And on here, we can see that Z positive is not the forward direction we want to use. We could use the upward direction. And so what we want to do is always point this towards the center of the world. So always point the upward direction towards 0, 0. And I think this is totally doable, but I think it would be a lot easier if we were using forward direction. And so what we might want to do, I'm not sure which way is right anymore. I'm like, okay, this is up. And then what we want to do is rotate this 90 degrees. So we're going to open this up, zoom in, selecting all of this, and then rotate 90 degrees like that, and then zoom out. And then we can take the forward direction now and point it towards the center of the world. Yes, be sure to like and subscribe, as Just Ask Carlos has just said to do. What a great suggestion. Show. There you go. Appreciate you, Carlos. Thanks for tuning in. I just shouted out your live stream coming up after this. We're super excited for that. And so the next thing we want to do is determine some scripts that need to run on this, or do we run them on the trigger? You know what? Oh, this is so bad. It's such a bad practice. We literally just talked about this at the beginning of the stream. We're going to run it on the ring trigger just for simplicity's sake. So on here, we're going to reference the object. I need to get better at this. I really do. It's so difficult. And so we're going to reference this as the ring. And so theoretically, what we should be doing is sending this to the ring. And so we will. We're going to do it right. I got to do it right. I got to be a beacon of doing it right. So we're going to send an event to the ring. And this event is going to be called new position. So after you get a ring, it's going to move to a new position. So only one person gets the ring, and then it goes to a new position. So then we're going to need a ring position. So I'm going to start stacking these over here by the broomstick house, since they're all related. And I'm going to put the this one on top of it, because this is kind of working with it together. Okay. So this is called ring. And when it receives the event, ring position, new position, I think is what we sent, right? Let me double check. We send new position to the ring. So when new position is received on the ring, we're then going to move to a random position that is at a distance of some amount, and then point towards the center. And so we want to make sure that it is at least something away from us. And so there's a lot to do here. So bear with me as we work through some crazy amounts of math. So the first thing we want to do is determine the distance. So we're multiplying by the distance. And so what we're going to be doing on the left side is normalizing a vector down to 1 meter and then multiplying it by a number that represents how far we want it to be. We're going to make this a random number with decimals so that it's somewhere between, say, 20 and 40 meters away from center of the map, which should be here to here. Might need to be bigger than that, but we're going to start with that for now. We can refine that later. And then what we want to do is determine the direction. Now, the direction that we're going to move in is going to be, this is going to be a two-part. So let's go create a new vector variable, which is going to be called new position. Click confirm. And then we're setting this new position value to be this that we're deciding over here. And the vector we're going to normalize is a new vector from XYZ. And we're going to put a 0 in the Y slot because we do not want to apply any upward direction to this. And then we're going to put an X and Y value that are random between -40 and +40. Really, the numbers in here aren't super important. It probably could be like -1 and +1 even. But these numbers are going to give us a random position in space. And then we're going to turn that into a direction so that it actually is between 20 and 40. So it doesn't happen to be near 0, 0. And then what we need to do is set the Y height. So we set new position to be new position plus. So we're going to grab a plus symbol. There it is. And then what we're adding is another new vector from XYZ. So I'm going to duplicate this down, deleting these random, moving 0 into the X slot, random here into the Y slot, 0 into this slot over here. And then we're going to set this to be the 20 that we used before. So the height will be between 20 and 40 off the ground. It'll be interesting to see what these numbers end up looking like once the rings are spawning. And we're moving self to that new position, but we need to rotate to face 0, 0. And to do that, we want to go to Motion tab and grab Rotate To. And so we're rotating self to look at, and we'll go to, there it is, look at. So we rotate self. Sorry, I'm losing my, there we go. We need to look at this new position, but from this, we need to look from this new position back at 0, 0. Now, new position, since we're looking at 0, 0, this is easy. We really can just kind of use that knowledge to not have to do any subtraction, but we do need to make this negative. So we're going to multiply it by -1 so that it's looking in the opposite direction. I don't know if that works though. It should. No, let's not try that. Let's try just, we'll do it the way I said we're not going to do it. We're going to do it that way. So we're taking 0, 0, 0 and minusing the new position because for sure that works. So we take 0, 0, 0, we subtract the new position. So this represents the destination we want to look at. This is where we're looking from, and the upward direction is 0, 1, 0 because we always want it to point up. Now that our ring is set up, it should look and move. Now to test this out though, we're going to start by creating a loop. So when world is started, we're going to send event with a delay of 1 second called a new position. And then we're going to continue sending this and just seeing where does this go. So all we have to do is attach this to the ring and we can start to see this jumping around. So attach new position, or sorry, it's called ring. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so now it should be teleporting around and the rotation seems to be okay. The position definitely not far enough out, and 0, 0 is not where I thought it was. So the height seems to be really good. Great height, but the positions around 0, 0 seems to point at 0, 0 being around here. So we need to make this more like 40 to 80 out, I think, and then we need to change our position that we're starting in to be something more like right about here. So this guy is at position 17 by -33. So I guess it's a good thing we put it in this way. So we say 17, and then we put -33 here, because this is where we want to look towards. And we want to look towards like roughly 30 up off the ground. So that's also helpful to know. And then the last thing we want to do is adjust this value to be between 40 and I was saying 80, but I'm almost thinking 60. Let's try 80 just to see. And then when we hit play, we should see this moving around correctly. There we go. Nice. That's way high. How did that get to be so high? Something. Oh, I put it in the wrong slot. That's why. Stop. Okay, try that again. We were saying new vector 40 and 80 goes over there. So undo, undo, undo. The height was great. It's this one that needs to be 40 and 80. Okay. And then I also realized that I made another mistake, which is that I didn't add this kind of quote origin position to this value. So this new position should also be new position plus this quote origin position, which is normally would have been 0, 0. We can remove the value for up, that 30 there, and that should give us the correct position relative to 0, or our 0, 0 play. Okay, that looks good. Oh, these are perfect. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got our ring. It's a little too close to some of the walls out here. So 80 is definitely too much. Let's try 60, and then I think we're good. So change that from 40 and 80 to 60. And then the last thing we want to do is delete when world is started, delete send new position, and we're just going to try flying it. So I need to connect that ring trigger to the ring itself. So we'll open this up. we're going to zoom inside, open up the trigger itself, then zoom out. And then on the trigger's property panel, we can drag this empty slot into the group over here. And then I drag it back and forth just in case it didn't get connected. Close it, open it, looks good. And looking good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and play. And so there's just one of these for now, but we'd like to have more once we get this working correctly. Now I'm going to go ahead and try getting there. So I go up towards the ring. Got it. I didn't hear the ding because it moved so fast, so that's something we should add a delay to. But it is working good. These are good positions. I can get to them really nicely. Let's just move 1 second delay, add a bunch more of them, and we're great. Okay, so on the ring trigger script, instead of sending it immediately, we send event with a 1 second delay, so that way you can hear it. So we send this to the ring, and it's still called new position. And then what we want to do is also cancel sending it. So say, for instance, someone comes in right behind them. We'll cancel sending new position at the same time and cancel sending that to the ring. There we go. And that should give us a good sound. So, oh, and then I wanted to make more of these. So let's go and duplicate a few of these into the world. There we go. And we'll dupe and rotate these. So we get 4 of these to start. And then they should be in different spots from then on. Play. Here we go. Grab ourselves a broomstick. And up we go. Woo! The sound was good. Another good sound. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, that is unprecedented. Oh my gosh. That was insane. Okay. I don't know how to get through them all, but wow, that is a lot of fun. They definitely don't know how to like communicate. So if you wanted to add communication, it's going to be a lot harder, but I've done it in the past. Oh my goodness. Woo. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that is way more fun than you might think. Hey, Birdie, I got more money for you. Oh, you got some money for me. Yeah, we're going to work together. And so basically then you come and upgrade your bird and you're like, yes, like I just had fun playing a ring game and now I can spend my ring money. Yes, I know. So good. So good. Keep it up. And then I can also upgrade this as my hand got stuck in there. We should probably turn colliding with hands off in this world. I know we turned it on earlier, but yeah, we should probably turn it off. Colliding with hands is a cool idea when it works. Oh, right. I can buy like lots of these. Wow. There's like I didn't intend for these to be colliding with hands is what I'm saying. So, stop the world. I want my bird to keep going while I'm like, please, I want to idle. Don't stop the world. It's so addicting, you guys. You just don't even know. It's so crazy. So we wanted to go to our... What did I want to do? I totally forgot because I was so addicted to that darn bird game. Oh, I wanted to turn off player hand collisions on static objects because that was like really, yeah, script and play. There we go. And now this should be a little easier to use. So now when I come up to this, yeah, there we go. Now it's not freaking out when my hand enters it. Yeah, go crazy, dude. I got you guys like really rolling. We can go crazy together. Oh, okay, we're done. I swear, we're done. This guy's, he's happy. He's happy now. But I'm not. Look at that, it's at 100. 100 per click. Oh, okay, we just caught up with him. Oh man, that's so good. Look at this, every 10 times, so what's one? He's got like one of those per second, so every 10 seconds I can upgrade him. That's not gonna take long to get him to max. So there you have it. This is the basis to the apple clicker world. It's going to have a cool shed with a flying mini game mixed in with some apples. We're going to have a ton of different characters to animate, so I can't wait for that. I got to probably put in some apple picking like up here. So in addition to apple clicking, maybe there'll be like you can pick some apples from the fields over here. And I'm not even sure. There's so much more to do. We've only got this. So I feel bad about the background. What's our time at? We got time to build one more background piece. So let's go grab one of these faceted cylinders that I absolutely adore. Put one of those in here and slide that up like that nicely. And looking pretty good. I did want to like break this down into something else. Like when you come over here, maybe it's a rolling hill. So we grab a rolling hill. Nice. And it rolls. So you gotta have a couple rolls on there. Nice. Explains why it's not. There we go. We can grab another one of those like that and like that. People are like, wow, that's so cool. I know, thank you. I think so too. I really do though. Oh man, so I'm gonna go grab this color, give it another green shade. I think this is a lighter green than what we had there. Yeah, that's a nice change of events. Like there's so many ways you can like make really cool looking backgrounds, and I think this is a good start. This one's definitely not my friend. This guy, he can go up and into here, and then what we can do is grab him and then duplicate down like that, so he falls a lot sooner. Very nice. And then what about over here? Well, we could add some like mountains over here. So we shrink these down, turn them like this. Remember, I did say be cautious with these because they do take up a lot more complexity than just a cube, but they look really good. So there's a reason I use them, but if you could be done with a cube, you should probably use a cube. That's all I'm saying. So just consider it. So like for instance, the thing I like about this is that it looks kind of like this edge, and you can't really do that with a cube. So I thought, it turns out, say you know you're going to build a mountain range like that with a few faceted cylinders. Well, if you grab this cube like this, and you select all of these, deselect this, group these together, and I will explain that in just 1 second. But if you do this, you can then stretch them like this, and they basically become faceted cylinders, and it's crazy. I've literally like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And so then we can grab this color, oops, this color, do that, delete this, delete that. And then what you can do is zoom into the group and start skewing them into weird shapes and get these really cool looking objects. And you can just stretch them however you want and then skew them however you want until you get the shape that you want. And I've been really like trying purposefully to learn this skewing method because I think it can create some really cool looking shapes like that. I mean, that's pretty cool. I don't know that I super duper like it, but that's cool. And then we can duplicate it. And if we want to make sure it looks like a faceted cylinder, we can do that. And just a lot of options really. So at this point, I would select this guy and pull him out. I can't even select him. It's so funky. Zoom out and you'll see that it doesn't really look like that. It's like, it's just the skewing from inside that group. It's so crazy. And so then we could apply one of these right here just to give it some more intrigue. There we go. Nice. We stretch that to like that. And so if we look over at those mountains, those are pretty cool. And they do not look like cubes. I mean, they really don't look like cubes. And I wish more people would do this, but I don't think we really know how. I mean, I feel like I learned this like a week ago. So I'd love to teach this to you. So let's first see, did anybody have any questions about that specifically that we can like dive in on that exact specific part? Or was that just kind of like, huh, how to, is that, those are cubes? Because like, I know they're cubes, right? So, I'm going to start from the beginning and try to explain what got me started on this. So I'm going to try and face you. Hi, welcome if you just joined. And we've got just a half an hour until the Horizon Live show starts here in Horizon. So what got me started about this is I saw a shape from the new mesh library that basically looked like this plus this. Let me center that. And it was like that. And then it had one of these coming out of it. But it was a mesh, okay? So it was like, you know, we all thought, wow, that thing's so cool. So it was basically this, but it was a mesh. And the part that made it, quote, so cool was that it was skewed. And so I don't know how to explicitly show this in here. So I'm just going to try my best with what I've got. Basically, if I flatten all these first, then I select this one, which is not perfectly aligned. Then I select these ones and I group it together. I can then stretch it, which creates the shape that we saw in the mesh library. And we all go, wow, that's such a cool abstract shape. I could never have created that in Horizon, except you could. So I went and created it. And I was like, wait a second, I can create as many of these as I want. Like, we only had one of them, but then I was duplicating it. I was opening the properties and zooming in, and I was twisting these about, and I started creating these really unique shapes that just we'd never seen in Horizon before. And I was like, wait a second, this is crazy. And so zooming out, you know, now I've got two different versions of this same sort of thing. And that's kind of where it started. So then I was like, wait, how can I take this in another direction? So I thought about, okay, I've got a cube. And if I think about it from the perspective of a cube, let's start with something simple like what we just did. Like, the reason I knew that was so easy is because if I select this cube, select this guy, this is at a diagonal to it. So when I stretch it, you can directly see it happening. The problem is when you let go, it unskews. But if you put your hands in and group it together, it stays skewed. So you can start getting an idea without even having to group these on what's possible. But that's just like the very, very beginning. And so if we go and grab another cube, oh no, how dare you grab another cube? And so what I used to use these for, and the kind of the way I understood it, is that if you got the perspective that you wanted, you would look at it, and then you would select this, select that, and this perspective you could flatten into a flat art piece. And that was kind of the original idea. But you can do it the other way too, and pull from that perspective. Right? And so now this is double skewed. And so we'll zoom in here and delete this guy. Then I'll zoom in to this one. Hello, welcome back. Sorry about the audio loss there. Headset crashed. And I was just basically saying that we can delete those cubes from inside and have this like double skewed shape, which is interesting. I don't know that I would do that personally because that means that one shape takes up 3 objects. Hello, welcome back. Oh gosh, that freaked me out. Audio loss there. I scared myself. That's too funny. Oh man, but yeah, so I wouldn't do that normally because it takes up 3 objects worth of capacity. But if there's something you're really interested in, I think the easy way is to make a skewing and then go inside the group and just rotate it until you get what you like. As long as you don't need it to be snapped, you're usually pretty good to do it that way. If you need it to be snapped, like I was building a control board the other day and I wanted a squashed cube to be like diagonal, almost like a diamond, to kind of like, anyway. To make, I needed that one to be snapped. It couldn't be skewed. It needed to be skewed, but not skewed, you know? So like I would snap it and then skew it, and that worked really well. So curious if that's helped. Hopefully it does. I think we're gonna end here and let you guys pick up with Oculus in 27 minutes. So I'll still answer any questions if you got any questions left, but really appreciate y'all hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. We've gone through quite a few topics here today. I mean, really, we've been everywhere. We talked about physical motion, we got flying, we got some apples, sort of. Oh, yeah. But join Oculos in Horizon Live in 26 minutes. That's Horizon Live. You can watch it on the Vidyuu Nights channel, which I'll grab a link to. And you can join that pretty much all over the place. Let's see. Close out of Horizon. This thing is still frozen over here. Close the program. No, don't need to report. Close. And, yo, it's youtube.com. Okay, I can't type on this computer. I shouldn't even try. / Vidyuu Nights. There you go. And that is where you can watch the live stream, so you can pick it up and continue building. If you're pigeon number 12 or anybody else who's working out there, you can continue listening. And for those who have a VR headset at the ready, you can join Oculos by going to Horizon Live in Horizon World. So feel free to check that out. I'm going to go grab some water. I should have brought some. Totally forgot. 3.5 hours of need some water. Let's go. So hope to see you there at Horizon Live. I don't know who the guest is. It's always a surprise. So can't wait to find out with you guys. And we will see you there. We'll see you in Horizon. Still hanging out. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them. But otherwise, you're welcome to drop off. So, bye. Seriously, the water. I'm not even kidding. Oh my goodness. Bum, bum, bum. In the poll. Okay, my takeaway from the poll is that 1/5 of you are diehards who watch everything that comes out on Horizon Worlds, and y'all are amazing, so thank you. Like seriously, 1 and 2 hasn't performed very well because it's a part 2, and part 2s just don't perform well on YouTube. And appreciate y'all tuning in every live stream for this. The part 1 was really toned for beginners, so it's very good to go and like learn player variables and some other pieces. And then part 2 just really kicks it up a notch, and I think it's still pretty decent beginner tutorial if you followed along with the first one. Continue leveling up your scripting skills during the break between those videos getting posted, but you probably could follow them back to back too. And yeah, I mean, just seeing addictive minigame loops in Horizon Worlds is exciting. I mean, there's a lot of work left to do. I saw recently a really cool pizza joint where you put a pizza together. I think it's on the right track. It wasn't addictive. It just was so hard to like follow the steps. Like I loved it, but the steps were a little hard to follow. So I don't know what the answer is though. It's not like I have all the answers. You know, it's like each world has its own set of thoughts, ideas, problems, and things like that. So, like with the Apple clicker, I don't like that you're clicking a button. So part of my biggest holdup with it has been wanting to solve that problem. So I'm probably gonna let that sit with me for a little bit and kind of come back to it. I like the idea of picking apples, but man, your arm's gonna be tired. Even the clicking is tiring, but at least if it was like, there's apples and they randomly place throughout the orchard and you have to go find them and pick them, and like each apple is worth more points the more you get. That kind of loop I think sounds pretty interesting. It might be a little too tiresome though because it's so much work to go find the apples, especially when there's something like flying through rings to get 100 coins. Like we could also tie that 100. I was thinking about tying that 100 coins into the apples clicked, so it's like the same thing. So it could be you tap that thing 1,000 times and now it's worth 1,000 points for a ring, which would be pretty cool. I also want to build in some more than that. Oculos is very much like anything that is, his basic sentiment is this: any game that basically is just spam the thing to get the highest on the leaderboard is a bad game. And he's not wrong. And that's what the ring game is currently. The ring game currently is spam going through rings as many as you can, and you'll get the high score on the leaderboard. This is problematic because of the point that people like. We went hopping through worlds that have this mechanic in it the other day because you really want to drive it home, And my goodness, you just see people who have these outrageously high scores, and either they have figured out a way to break it, or they just stayed there for hours doing it, and it's absurd, right? Like, it's absolutely absurd. So definitely important that you're not just forcing people to stay there for hours, just right? So, like, thinking about how do you make it, I mean, there's 32 brooms, 32 people can be flying through those rings at any time. That becomes a lot more of a competition, which is exciting, but it's also like, is there a time limit? It's like best of this minute. Every 60 seconds or maybe every 5 minutes, you have to like compete with people. I think 5 minutes is too long in this space. In Horizon Worlds, like 5 minutes is just an eternity. But if you're doing 60-second, like, I don't know what the right term is, but 60 seconds might be the right time where you just like, you got 60 seconds, go. Whoever's the top of those 60 seconds gets like double, right? Like, that would be so good. So those are definitely some thoughts that I'm kicking around, trying to figure out what makes it more fun for multiple players and what also makes it less of a just get the thing. Well, I guess I better tune out and get that water that I keep talking about.